hospital.
What as pride and dignity stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. Well, I'm off to the UFO Truth Magazine conference in Holmfirth. It's Friday the 13th of September. But so far nothing bad has happened. I'm now going to wait a little while because I'm at Milton Keynes. There's the Milton Keynes coachway at the moment. And I'm just here, just with this, walking along this pathway here by this big roadway. What's interesting about this is I just noticed the graffiti here because that image there in particular looks familiar. Now, just before I came here, in fact, just last night, I uploaded a video called Graffiti in Oxford, which was about this very subject of graffiti. And you see the same kind of symbols in Oxford as if maybe the same artist at work. I don't know, maybe the artist came here and did the same thing. But anyway, I'll just show you a little bit about where I'm going. I've got the proper hat here, UFO Truth Magazine, and the t-shirt, and we're going to head for Holmfirth, West Yorkshire, and let's just have a little look at the event I'm going to.
So this is where I am off to. Yes, the 7th International UFO Truth Magazine Conference, Holmfirth Civic Hall. I'm going back to the usual place. That's the home of the conference now. I expect we will take over the town. I think it's become a bit infamous or famous within the town. Gary Heseltine there is the organiser, editor of the magazine, and we have this amazing array of speakers: Derrel Sims, Hackton Actagan, Alan Foster, Gabor Tokali, Hugh Newman, Alan Godfrey. Now this is the 7th, and you know what? I've been to all of them. That's something I'm very proud of. I bet this one is going to be every bit as good as all the others, if not better.
Of course, I'm excited to be going to this event, and I always love to get away to conferences. As you know, it's one of the great joys of my life to spend a few days in the company of my fellow loonies to discuss loony things. We can't beat it. It's a beautiful day today. It's really warm and sunny, and I come to my usual place in Milton Keynes when I'm at the Milton Keynes coachway. I've got about half an hour before I have to catch my next coach. I'm going to sit down here amidst the trees by the stream here in this park. I've got my books. I've got some Roswell Risings, some Roswell Revealed, and some new, for the first time at UFO Truth, Roswell Redeemed. So I'm hoping to sell a few of those. Hopefully that bag will be lighter when I come home. I'm going to, yes, it's the first UFO Truth Magazine conference when I've been selling Roswell Redeemed, because that only came out in December. So last time I only had Roswell Rising and Roswell Revealed. So for the first time, the whole Roswell trilogy will be available at UFO Truth Magazine. So that's the conference. It'll be really good. And the good news is there's a lot of people going this time which couldn't go last time. I know my good mate Colin Wolford is going to be there. Juliet, she's coming. Juliet, who's the photographer at Probe. Derek Savory from the Rendlesham Forest, he's coming too. These are all people who weren't there last year. I don't know if Miles is going to be there. I have to ask him. But yeah, I'm full of anticipation and excitement. I have been for the last few days. Yeah, it's going to be great. Oh, just think, a week ago, less than a week ago, I was languishing in a custody cell at a police station, and now I'm sitting under a blue sky amongst rich trees, waiting for my comfortable coach to glide me leisurely north into West Yorkshire and to the UFO Truth Magazine conference. So I hope you'll accompany me. It should be good. Right, I'm on the coach. As you can see here, right at the back. Very heavy chemtrail skies today. Really thick chemtrailing. Let's see. I've arrived. Yes, I'm here with my books and everything. I've actually arrived here in Huddersfield. It's lovely weather, really is lovely. It's really nice. I've just got to find my hotel, which is the same one I stayed in last time. And it's not far from here actually. I remember pretty much, I think, where I'm going to go. It's it's sort of quite simple to find your way around this city. I haven't got a map with me, so I hope so anyway, but I think just go down that street. It's all sort of up and down kind of contours. You can follow the contours in this place. It's funny, like this sort of area has a real kind of atmosphere to it, and you notice it with things like architecture like that. You see that this kind of architecture you see there and there on that building. These buildings made out of stone and dark and that coloured brick, this particular coloured brick, and these stone blocks. That is unique to this sort of area, and you notice the change when that kind of comes in. It comes in at a certain point. That point is somewhere around Barnsley. If you get your map out, you can see what I'm talking about. It's somewhere in the sort of Barnsley area. Everything changes. The sort of atmosphere of places changes, and you get like just a different ambience. And of course that must be associated with cultural changes, linguistic changes and things like that. You often get that, maybe people speaking in a different accent. I don't know about the accent, but you get people with like different lifestyles and things like that. So this is all starting to look familiar now. I've been here a few times, so I think I know where I'm going. But if I check into my hotel and I'm going to get to Holmfirth, I know where I'm going this time, because I didn't see anyone Friday night last time because I didn't know where everyone was. Now I know where they're all going to be, and I'm going to go and join them. What's more, I've been contacted by Colin and Derek and a couple of other people, so I've got friends on their way. And Derek is staying up at a campsite. He says he's staying at a campsite. I hope it's not the campsite. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a bit of a legend here at the UFO Truth magazine. I'll put a link in the description box to my written report on a previous conference where all that came about. I just hope he zips his 10 flap shut. Yeah, so Colin's on his way. He's got his train was delayed, so he's a bit late. So now all I've got to do is find my way around this city to where I have to go. And it shouldn't be difficult. I think once I get to the station, I think I know where I'm going. And it's a lovely day, and it's really nice. The air's fresh, so I'm really looking forward to this. The forecast is pretty good for the weekend, actually. So looking forward to it. Should be a good conference. Okay, I've made it. I'm at the hotel now. It's the Travelodge in Huddersfield. And so I'm just had a quick cup of coffee here, so you can see I've just had coffee there. There's my little mug. And I'm heading to Holmfirth now to meet up with the others. Colin, she should have arrived now at Honley, so he's going to try and get the bus from Honley. I know Derek is, if Derek doesn't get eaten by the Lovecraftian monster that lives at the campsite, then hopefully I'll be seeing him later. Just show you around the room. Now I'm on the third floor, so it's the top floor, but unfortunately I'm on the wrong side again. So once again I'm on the sort of like the canal side, so I don't get to see the hills and the mountains like I did last time. Do you remember the last time I was on this side as well? It was only the first time I stayed at this Travelodge I actually got that. I actually managed to get the great view to get over UFO Alley. But anyway, I'm just settling down now. I'll just show you the books I've got to read actually. I've got Acknowledged, UFOs, Aliens and Crop Circles by Andrew Johnson, and Finding the Secret Space Program by Andrew Johnson. I thought it'd give me a good chance to read these books. I actually saw Andrew a couple of weeks ago at the Highwick and Paranormal group, and I should have brought those books with me so he could sign them, but I didn't. But anyway, I'll just show you around the room. It's the usual thing. They're all the same. I don't know if you really want to see all this, but the bathroom again as usual. Oh, the shower, psycho shower again, and I'm just going to I've got to head off now I think, because Colin and I will probably arrive in Holmfirth together. I've got to get back to the bus station, so take another walk through Huddersfield. It shouldn't be, I think I know where I'm going this time. It took me a while to find this place. I sort of wandered around for a bit, but my sense of direction is pretty good. And then I've got to get the bus to Holmfirth, so let's go there. Let's go and see Holmfirth. Nice. I've just got off the the bus now. I'm in Holmfirth. And it's great. This lovely little place is back. You see what I mean about the architecture? It's a lovely place in the evening actually. It's got a lovely light to it. And it's great to be back here. Now I've just got to meet the others. And I just texted Colin and told him I'll meet him in. I said I'd meet him in the Bridge Hotel, which is just the old bridge. Here it is. Let's have a look. Don't see anyone I recognise, but I'll see them pretty soon, I'm sure. Don't see any UFO people around, but they'll turn up. I'm sitting on this wall here, just by the stream, and there's the town above it. Absolutely delightful. This little river goes through here. Just perfect place for paddling, you know, like that. Like that one I was in Devon. Do you remember the one in Devon? I think it was my last sky watching in Devon video, and there was that lovely river I was paddling in. That's very similar. It's nice. It's the kind of place you could paddle. But you can't get down there. It's surrounded by these high walls, so you just got to look at it from a distance. Believe it. It's Larry. I've just seen my friend Larry. How are you, Larry? Good to see you, old mate. Oh, good to see you. How are you, mate? You're the first person I've seen here.
Sorry.
Hey, how are you?
Early, first to party, last to leave.
Yeah, you got the T-shirt already?
Got the T-shirt. Yeah.
Do watch that movie when it comes out, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, nice one.
These are prototypes.
Here now is Larry. And Larry's got something here. It's his parcel. It's a bit of mystery here. See you in a minute. It's got lots of. It's obviously travelled air freight. And it's kind of like a big thing here. Like I just helped Sue get it out of the car. So what is this, Larry? What is this, Larry? What is this thing you've got here?
That is this.
It's a. Oh my God! Is Larry there? And there's that site, RAF Bent Orders main site.
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Is that what that is?
Well, look, yeah, the shape.
You see what a shape, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't forge that. I don't whittle in metal. No,
oh, nice.
Not anymore.
I see.
And that's the main site.
Sure, this is not a fake photo, Larry?
If it was, Ed Sullivan and Richard Nixon would be also in it, my favorite people.
Oh.
And actually, that was removed. They were going to throw all this out when the base was done. And friends of mine from my 30-something birthday, tell you how long I've had it, gave it to me. I flew it home before pre-9/11. 2 years ago, I packed it up at my sister's house in a garage, and I flew it back here. It's been sitting like that. I was going to give it to the Bentwaters Cold War Museum, but they haven't been very good to me, so they can stick it up their asses, even though it's a great museum. And I'm going to give that to Tino for his birthday, because he's been a good mate, and that can fill up room in his house, because I don't have it.
Great. Now, Tino doesn't know this yet, and obviously by the time you watch this, Tino, the secret will be out, so I don't need to worry about telling him.
No, he doesn't know.
We're not live streaming or anything.
He knows about it.
Oh, but that's a fantastic
And if
present.
people want to press charges, bring it on. That's fine, because we'll all meet in court sooner or later anyway.
Yeah, but this is going to be a fantastic little present here.
Well, the guy's, you know, he's done so much.
He's been heroic. He's been heroic.
He's heroic.
He's the assistant director of the film Capable Green, which you saw earlier on Larry's T-shirt.
Yeah.
And that he's the assistant director of that film. Yeah. So that's absolutely fantastic.
He has no experience making movies.
Well, I'll tell you what, for a beginner, he's done a damn good job.
We've got a fucking Academy Award winner on our hands.
Yeah.
And trust me, that's probably true.
I can't wait for the Golden Globes. Best documentary.
I can't even. It's better than plastic plates.
I'll tell you what, just going to show you, see what we're doing with our lives compared to what the losers who've been attacking us are doing. We're going to go in and get some grub. And
overpriced grub.
Yeah, it is a bit pricey, but it's a lovely place. So see you later.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Well, we've just been having dinner. Larry, and a few of our friends have been having a load of dinner. We've had a lovely meal.
Too much of a load of dinner.
Yeah, it's now it's about 9 o'clock now. Yeah. And look what we found attached here. Yeah, look what we found attached here. UFO Truth magazine. Yeah, it's all been publicised.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Even on Mars.
Yeah, but you know, we sort of take over this town this weekend, don't we? They all know who we are.
I'm bringing my criminal operation to Huddersfield. I mean to Holmfirth and Huddersfield.
Yeah. So we see.
You know how I roll.
We're sort of infamous, aren't we? We're sort of
Yeah,
infamous.
a little bit.
We're like Compo and Clegg. We're like the Compo and Clegg. We terrorise the place.
That's the way it is.
So I'm just going to go and check the bus times, and then I'll join you for another beer, I think.
Yeah, bus times is a code Ben and I have for another industry.
That's it, yes, but we can't tell you about
I
that.
tell you, we have to kill you.
Colin here. Colin has been at the UFO Congress, and he's got Q. It's a Q with a Union Jack on, so yeah. Do you think Q is going to come back in because Q's quiet at the moment since HR shut down?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways I quite like it that he's not posting. Well, they're not posting. In some
Whoever it
ways.
is, yeah.
But
I bet it's more than one person. I think.
Oh, yeah, I don't rely on, these people to sort of, I don't see them as some sort of guru figure. I just find them quite an interesting thing to read, really. But yeah, I mean, take it or leave it, really. But a lot of things Q said has come true, and like you say, 8chan is shut down or whatever. So maybe we'll see maybe we'll see some posts in the future. There's a lot of things been happening with Epstein and all that stuff. And
Definitely, that's true. Yeah.
false flag shootings. It's the usual stuff, really. I mean, the press are definitely, they're attacking Q and all that as always, and so they either way they can't win, because if people don't talk about Q, then it's sort of people, they talk about it, and then when people are talking about it, then so it's funny, really. But,
Do you think Q is real? You don't think Q is just a bunch of guys messing around on the internet?
I personally think that there is a group that are behind Q, because I just feel that it's too much inside info, and Trump may be connected. I mean, Trump Plus is Q Plus, apparently.
Well, according QAnon says that they are involved closely with the Trump administration. And I mean, this is a contentious issue. I know Kev Baker's probably watching and tearing his hair out, but there is something about it. It was Sam of the Grassy Knoll, I think, was convinced me. There's something about Q that is real. I'm sure there are fake Q posts, there are fake Q posters, but there's some reality behind
it's
it.
weird, because I don't think in America, like, if you're not pro-Trump and you're not if you can't be into Q and a fan of Trump, that's what it seems like to me.
It's like
you can't. So
you can't not be a
Democrat. I don't know if there's a Democrat.
You can't not be supporting Trump. And
is there a Democrat Q support? I don't know. That'd be interesting.
I don't know. I mean, there's Democrats who support Trump. You see, there's people registered Democrats who support Trump. I mean,
I don't like
politics in America.
I don't like the politics.
American politics is weird. It's very, you have to register for. In this country, I think only less than 0.1% of the population are party members. In America, I think most people are members of one party or another. It's weird. You don't have to pay, just register to be part of that party, and it's like.
Well, with Joe Biden, I don't think Creepy Joe, as they call him, him who touches up the young girls. I mean, the fact he's going to be 80 when the election, if he was to win it, which he's got no chance in hell. If that's, I think they've written off that election, because the Democrats aren't going to win. If he's their main person, he's got no chance.
I think Trump's got a good chance, and I hope he wins, and hopefully when Q comes back, we'll find out more. I mean,
I think it's good though that we don't get in posts, because people can get addicted and reliant on information without looking into things themselves, and sometimes it's very nice to have someone acting as like a father figure telling you this is going on and that, but at the end of the day you should be looking into it yourself and not relying on the latest drop from Q. But I do think there's a truth to it.
I think there's some reality.
That's why I'm wearing a t-shirt. I wouldn't wear a t-shirt. Maybe I'll wear that another day. We'll see what happens. Maybe we need a letter. We need something going on in this country.
Yeah,
there's certainly a lot of Q supporters around the world. So
I think it's I think it's an exciting time to be that, because I am a 2016. I believe the 2016 effect is real. I do. I think Trump is a good guy. Trump is a white hat and all these things, whatever you call him. Trump is against the New World Order, and he's president, and that's a good sign, because it means the Illuminati are losing control. Because if the Illuminati are in complete control, there's no way a man like that could ever become president. Same with Boris Johnson.
Yeah,
he's another one.
And they're attacking him, aren't they?
See, that's what I mean. Yeah, I know Neil Sanders and other people don't agree, but I think they're wrong.
We're living in interesting times.
Oh, God, yeah.
Usually if you're attacking that means you have some power generally. I mean, if you're being attacked, that's because they're worried about you and they're scared.
I think so. Yeah.
Because you might, I don't know. But we'll see what happens. And, I think, well, we haven't heard of the last Q, put it that way, and you know, if it was all just a LARP or whatever, we would have heard about it by now. I know some people do think that, but I haven't, from my own understanding of it, and I've been following since the beginning, I don't think it's any...
Yeah. What I do, I go to qanon.pub, and that's where it's the aggregator where all the Q posts end up, rather than sifting through 8chan, because 8chan, to be fair, 8chan is
I get the app.
full
I've
of
still got the
bits.
app on my phone where I can actually get the drops on the phone before they banned it on the app shop. So
I mean, 8chan is just, there's so much crap on 8chan. There is, to be honest, there's a lot of rubbish on 8chan.
I'm trying to remember. Do you remember when the last post on Q was? Do you remember? I can probably tell you actually.
It was sort of early August. It was when Q when it went down.
The app here, you can actually.
We've got qanon.pub here. Yeah.
1st of August.
Was the first? Was that long ago? 1st of August.
No, that was the last before. Yeah, that was the last message.
It was. Yeah. It was the
month
first
of August is traditionally very hot.
Yeah, people have put that down to the fact that he knew about those shootings. The 2 shootings in El Paso and Dayton, and it was like, I mean, we don't know. We don't know that. It could be another. QAnon always talks in a very, I find, very
Cryptic.
a very abstract way. Yeah, and I think it's deliberate. It's
good.
to get people thinking.
Like,
Yeah.
If you're just gonna, you need to. Yeah, I think it pulls people in basically.
That's a good T-shirt, Colin. I like it.
Well, I did go for, I tried to find one with, UK, because I know there's been posts from other countries. It's not just people, in America. There has been posts, I think, is it Japanese people? You watch some of the posts, there's all sorts of people who wear Q stuff and in your own country. Like,
It's a global phenomenon. I mean, I see it in Hong Kong. The people have got banners for Hong Kong.
A lot of these movements are quite silent movements, and you don't know about it until... It's going. A lot of this is going on, behind the scenes. People are talking. People are talking and getting into groups. And
it was great in London when I was at the protests in London, because someone had like a Q banner, and it was really good. I looked at it. This is when there was all these riots going on around us, and there was like people throwing barricades everywhere, and I was like, I was in London that time. But I mean, then I looked around. I saw there was a post. There was someone had a placard with Q on it. Yeah.
No, I saw you when you were doing your Brexit.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was
that was great. There was horrible people on there. Yeah.
And then I also saw you a couple of weeks ago. You were in London, and it was another friend of mine just put random pictures on, and I went, "There's Ben."
Oh, you sent me that, I think. I think you might have sent me that. Yeah. Oh, there was. Okay, I'm heading back now. It's about 9:30. I think people are going to bed now and getting plenty of sleep after their long journey before the conference begins tonight. I'm leaving Holmfirth on a bus, and as Russ Abbott used to sing, I've got a seat to myself, so that's cool. I'm pretty tired actually. So I'm staying out at Huddersfield, so quite a journey, but it's alright. Go to bed, get up, head for the conference tomorrow. Alright, I'm back at the hotel now. I'm going to go to bed pretty early, I think. It's been a long day. I've just been catching up on the news. I try to keep away from the Brexit stuff, but it's always going to affect me. It's always going to be there. So just catch up on the news and leave it at that, not dwell on it too much. This is a UFO weekend. Right, bedtime. See you in the morning. Well, good morning everybody. Hospital reporters, pride and dignity and all that sort of thing. I'm heading for the bus station to get my bus to Holmfirth. It's a bright, very, very, very nice, crisp, warm, quite chilly, but very pleasant, fresh morning here in the north of England. More chemtrails during the night, unfortunately, as you can see. There's a real chemtrail sky at the moment. Oh man, I slept really well. I was in bed by before 11, dropped right off to sleep. Didn't wake up until like 7:15 this morning. Lovely night's sleep that was, really nice. Had a great time last night with my friends. You saw Larry there, you saw Colin. I met a load of other people as well, like Larry's family and friends. His daughter's mum and her mum, and I just briefly said hello to Gary Hazeltine. It was alright. However, there was one experience which I must say was a bit disagreeable. This person turned up, this guy who is a regular at this conference, and I used to get on with him quite well. And I said hello, he shook hands, and then he started, how do I describe it? He launched into a tirade of criticism against me. He wasn't aggressive, but he was very scathing. And it was, I mean, the thing is, I've got quite a thick skin, I must say, when it comes to things like this, because of the trolls. So, you know, and of course the hospital and everything. I've become quite resilient to this sort of thing. However, I just thought to myself, this is not what I came here for. I didn't know why he was doing it at first. Then he sort of had to refresh my memory. And after a while, I got what was going on. He was actually somebody I knew on Facebook. Somebody I couldn't associate him as I was seeing him there with the person I knew on Facebook. But after a while, I put the two together. He was someone I actually blocked. He was somebody I blocked on Facebook because he was someone I just couldn't cope with anymore, because when I posted things that he didn't agree with, he wouldn't say, well, look, Benny, I think you're wrong because, and he'd explain it calmly and politely. He would immediately post a 20-line cascade that consists mostly of epithets about how he couldn't trust me, about how unprofessional and incompetent I was as a researcher, and things like this. And you probably get the picture, because it's a commonly recurring theme. It's almost like normal now, isn't it? Well, it is normal. It's almost like a breath of fresh air now when you meet someone and you have a difference of opinion and you don't end up trying to tear each other's hair out. It's a shame, because, you know, I'd be a pretty lonely guy if I did that. So I don't completely disagree. I don't completely agree with anyone and everything on anyone. I don't completely agree. Sorry, I'll rephrase. I don't completely agree with anything with anyone. If I met someone I did agree with on everything, I'd find them rather boring and a bit annoying. I think I'd probably end up disliking them. But this guy he was like, and he commented on the noises in my lane thing, you know, the Alan Tate, and you won't know that unless you're a Panwo radio listener, but you might have heard of it. But there's this guy from Wales who claims that there's some strange things going on in the basement next door beneath his house, and one of the things this guy was going on about was this particular chap, but he was going on at me. He wasn't going on about it. He was focusing on me and my lack of proficiency in dealing with the issue. He said I was too gullible and I was too trusting, and this is, again, I mean, I had to keep, and then this is what he did on Facebook before I blocked him, and I was sitting across his table from this pub, and I just had to keep saying, can we talk about the case now, please? Can we talk about the case now? Okay, where have I gone wrong? Eventually, when I cornered him down to discussing it factually, he was pretty clear that, I don't want to go into details about his various points, but it's pretty clear that there was nothing, the supposed suspicions that he'd been so clever to discover, which I'd overlooked, were nothing of the sort. So, and it literally, that was just a tiny fraction of our conversation. It was literally 30 seconds or so out of like a 10-minute lambastation. And I said to him, look, well, why is it, if he had talked to me about this calmly, there wouldn't have been this problem. I wouldn't have had to block him. I wouldn't have needed to. And then it comes to, we discussed the case of Simone Burns. Now, again, if you need to read the Panwo voice blog to get the details on that. Again, because I told you before, my output is multimedia, and if you focus on just Panwo TV, you might not get everything I sort of talk about. But on the Panwo voice blog, I wrote an article because a friend of mine knew somebody, a lady who committed suicide, and this lady was like quite a high-profile lawyer who had got into a bit of hot water. I won't go into details now because it's just too complicated, but she'd been in a position where she could be a political liability to certain people, and as a result, she discredited herself totally by getting on a plane. This was in Calcutta. She got on a plane in Calcutta for London, and in the middle of the flight, she just completely lost her rag as she went on a stampede through the cabin, hurling abuse at the stewards and stewardesses, screaming and shouting. She assaulted them a couple of times. She threatened them, and then she ended up in jail. She did 6 months in prison, and then when she was released, she threw herself off a cliff. And I mentioned that I think there's something a bit dodgy going on here, and I mean it's partly the fact that she claims not to have remembered doing it. She claims that she wasn't drunk, even though she appears to be drunk in this recording, and the cabin crew sort of like stand there without doing anything about it, when in fact airline cabin crew, incidentally, if you don't know, airline cabin crew are not just stewards and stewardesses. They don't know we call them that, but they're not just there to serve you drinks and meals. They are security experts, they are firefighters, and they are lifesavers. They know first aid, all these things. It's a multi-tasking job. They're responsible for security, safety of all the passengers. And these people, and I said, because I know a little bit about this, because I was looking into doing that career myself when I was a child. I was examining maybe becoming one of these trolley dollies, as they call them in a derogatory way, myself. And I didn't in the end, but I did look into the job description. And I happened to point out I thought their behaviour was suspicious. The fact they were letting this woman just wander around the cabin, behaving like that. Well, you see, a passenger that loses their temper, or panics, or let alone assaults the crew, is a liability on board a flying aircraft. It could be highly dangerous. The cabin crew actually, they have not only the right, but they have the means to restrain somebody who's behaving like that on a plane. They can actually handcuff you and shackle you to your seat, and they're perfectly entitled to do that, and they will. For the safety of the entire aircraft, it's sometimes necessary. In fact, pilots even carry out emergency landings if the disorder, and if more than one person, for example, is doing it. If disorder aboard the plane becomes too serious, a pilot will carry out an emergency landing. And so I brought this up. I brought up this subject with this chap. The thing is, and this was on Facebook, but I mean, he didn't really explain what he was doing, and he repeated this accusation last night. He said, "Oh Ben, are you accusing these Air India cabin crew of being actors? You've got no evidence for that. You're really unprofessional, and you are just deficient, and you are stupid, and you're sensationalist." All these things he said about me. And again, I had to push him. Can we talk about the case? Why am I wrong? Stop telling me I'm wrong and how bad I am. Tell me why I am wrong. Explain to me why I'm wrong. And once again, then he was just, I said, okay, he says, you're wrong to accuse them of acting. You're wrong. I said, okay then, logically speaking, were those cabin crew behaving correctly, as they should, And he said, no, not really. I said, right, well, logically, it's either one or the other. If you admit, if you concede that those cabin crew are behaving improperly. What's happened? Oh, I didn't press the button. Didn't press the button on the light, sorry. If you concede those cabin crew are behaving incorrectly, then why am I wrong for saying that? And again, he had no answer for me. You see, once you pin these people down, you have to do it offline, because online it's impossible. Once you pin these people down and you trap them in a corner of logic and reason, a lot of their bravado and their swagger just goes away. And that's what happened with this guy. And I mean, this is why I blocked him on Facebook. We ended the conversation, on good terms, reasonably good terms. But I'm going to be wary of him. I'm going to be wary of him for the rest of this conference, because to me, it doesn't bother me. I mean, not after what I've had from other people, certain people who said much worse. But I felt dismayed at that. I felt dismayed at his attitude. Interesting, this guy's actually. Obviously, I'm not going to say his name, but you probably won't be able to identify if I might. I'll tell you a little bit of his notoriety. He's famous because he's actually been in the news, because he was thrown out of a pub once because he was annoying other customers by ranting in a very loud voice about UFOs. It actually said that in the papers. A certain person had been thrown out of a pub because he'd been ranting about UFOs in a pub. Oh, that got into the papers. That was quite funny, I thought. But I was just I was a bit dismaying, I must say. It's not what I come for this conference for. But like I said, it wasn't that bad. I've had worse. I've had much, much worse than that, I'll tell you. From the trolls. Well, you've seen what people have posted about me, the videos they've made about me, the things they posted on Facebook about me. So, with that out of the way, I'm now walking through Huddersfield to the bus station. There's a bus at 26 minutes past 8 I want to get. That's ideal for getting me there on time. Now, I think it's an exciting time to have a UFO conference, because things are changing distinctly within the UFO field. Now, one of those, of course, is certain particular UFO cases, new information is coming to light, and the perfect example is the speciality of this particular conference, the Rendlesham forest incident. A vast amount of new information is coming to light about that, primarily due to the aforementioned Larry Warren, I'm proud to say he's a good mate of mine. I know him personally, and I like the guy. And of course, last year's conference we had a real exclusive. As I said, I called it "History Has Been Made." That was my title for the particular video I made about it, because history was made. History was made. Steve Longero came out of the closet and told his story. Lots of other people did as well. We have other witnesses, Laurie Riefeld and people like that have come out. This is a very, very encouraging sign. Very encouraging sign indeed. And so that I think there's going to be a breakthrough with the RFI, a real breakthrough very soon. This is why I called it "History Has Been Made," and that there's a film coming out called Capel Green, which I've talked about. I'll make a video about that. When it comes out, I will definitely be covering that and making a video about it, that particular documentary. But sure you remember it, because I talked a bit about it on at Awakenings Manchester, the Awakening Manchester video I made. I talked a bit about it there. So that's another exciting development. So I mean, I think this conference, we won't know till the end of it, because Gary always has surprises up his sleeve. That's the thing. He always includes some element of surprise. So we won't know particularly until after the actual conference is over. I won't be able to tell you really till Sunday evening. But I've got a feeling there'll be something related to that will happen. Now you've already seen the sign, the big sign that Larry had. By the time you watch this, will have been presented to Tino as his present. But there's more. I'm sure there's more coming. Now that I think is a very exciting development. Another thing that's very exciting that's coming up is just the simple fact that the way UFOs are being portrayed in the media has changed. And well, this is not something unique to 2019, but it's something that began in December 2017. But as I said, 2018 was a bit of a stagnant year, whereas 2019, as I said in my Trump video, 2019 possibly might be becoming the new 2016, and that counts for the UFO subject as well. So it's you get like things such as the ATIP revelations, to the Stars Academy, things like that. Now I know, before someone jumps down my throat, indeed the I can see through the disinformation but you can't posers have been having an absolute field day with this one. But there are factual issues of trustability and other things to do with the TTSA. I know that, and I've discussed that actually several times now in my various videos on the subject. Of course, nothing satisfies that I can see through the disinformation but you can't posers. I mean, for them, you know, nothing other than, oh, everything's fixed, everything's rigged. Oh, you're all gullible, you're all... I mean, this chap I talked about last night, he was a bit like that, this bloke who had a go at me. I think he's one of these I can see through the disinformation but you can't posers, or a variation of that. However, there are errors, there are issues that have to be dealt with. For example, the presence of Hal Puthoff in the organisation, Luis Elizondo and his the fact that he hasn't really confirmed his credibility in this particular issue yet. He might do, he hasn't yet. However, you know, as Richard Dolan's commentary on this is very good. You know, whatever is going on here, something is going on. Well, if it's disinformation, then it's disinformation for a purpose. Now, whenever you hit a bank of fog, it's never just fog. There's something solid inside it. No, there wouldn't be this. If this is some kind of disinformation, or even partly disinformation, it wouldn't be happening for no reason at all. So what I want to know is, what's the reason? What's the real story behind it? For me, that's the key question. It's not that, oh, the TTSA is disclosure, or na, you're all gullible, but I can see through the disinformation, aren't I superior, na. It's not that. It's neither of those two extremes, those poles apart. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. And that is something we're still getting to grips with a year and a half after it first emerged. So that's another reason why this is an exciting time to be having a UFO conference. The fact that we have this change in the tide, this tidal shift away from the previous strategy that was being used to handle UFO information to a new one. And I thought, why is that? Why have they suddenly, the keepers of the truth embargo, Steve Bassett calls it, why have they suddenly decided to take this tack? It's for a reason of some kind. Has to be. Yeah. Well, it's turning out nice now. Despite the chemtrails, there's quite a nice sunshine. It's quite a nice bit of sunshine. So I'm curious to know a bit about that. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the speakers today. I mean, I know, of course, Alan Foster. I spoke to him last night. I also met Haktan Aktagan, a Turkish ufologist. He's a very nice chap, speaks very good English. He's going to be doing his talk sometime. I haven't looked at the schedule yet. I'll know that when I get there. But I met Colin. I briefly spoke to Gary Heseltine. I saw Tino from a distance, but I couldn't speak to him. Tino's very busy because, of course, he's the workhorse behind this, as he was with Dreaming Saucers. In fact, I'm not going to hold another. I'm not holding another Dreaming Saucers conference. One of the conditions of me holding another Dreaming Saucers conference, which will hopefully be next year, one of those conditions will be I pay Tino, or at least provide him accommodation, which I didn't do last time. Didn't have the money. He's like, Tino's one of these people behind the scenes. Like he doesn't sort of get onto the public arena. He doesn't get on the public platform like I do. But he works quietly in a dedicated way behind the scenes. That's what, without people like that, there wouldn't be no ufology, because I'm hopeless at the sort of things he's good at. I'm hopeless at. I can speak, I can deal with the public, I can make videos. I'm good at that side of things, but you know, my daughter's pet hamster has better organising abilities than I do. So that's often we do have that kind of division of labour within our movement. So I'll definitely. Tino needs pay and or give it accommodation every bit as much as the speakers did. So that's one of my conditions for holding a new Dreaming Saucers. I'm nearly at the coach station now. I mean, you remember, well, the bus station, it's primarily a bus station, but I was here yesterday evening. You now know the way, thanks to me, from the Huddersfield Central Travel Lodge to Huddersfield bus station. So you can use my video now as a reference for navigation as well as everything else. I'm nearly there. And I go get a bus. I think I'm in time for my bus. That's pretty good. I mean, I showed you the chap who had a go at me last night. He's staying at the Huddersfield Travel Lodge as well. And I wouldn't say I'm avoiding him. I'm not avoiding him. If he had turned up, I'd have been perfectly pleasant to him, but I'm quite glad that he's not here, because I sort of saw him on the journey last time, or maybe the year before, I can't remember. So, right, here I am, ladies and gentlemen. Time to get my ass to Holmfirth. I'll see you when I get there. Now the bus to Holmfirth is going a slightly different route. It's absolutely lovely. Look at this. Look at these stone walls and everything. Isn't it lovely? Right, I'm in Holmfirth. Look, here we are. It's the morning now, so it looks very, very different in the morning. And there's the old bridge. That's where we were last night. That was the 308 bus. I must remember it's the 308 bus which takes longer. It took me the long way around. It's quite pleasant actually when you don't have to rush. It's actually a really nice way of seeing the sights, seeing the locations. And so here we are. This is the picture dome. I don't know if you remember which was it? Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago when we had a one-off, just as a one-off. We had the conference in here. It was all right. It was one where Travis Walton was there, but it wasn't ideal. So Gary went back to the Civic Hall. But there was a band in there last night. They were quite noisy. I mean, we heard them rehearsing when I first arrived, and they were quite noisy. And I do wonder actually if it kept a few of the delegates awake and the speakers. I hope not. It's right next to the hotel. Now this is a problem for me when I stayed at the Elephant and Castle, which is actually down that road, which I'm facing over there. And it's not a bad little B&B, but it's right above my room was right above the bar. It's basically, the hotel is basically some rooms above the pub, and my room, I said, was right above the bar, and there was a band in there, and they had like a late session, and I was trying to get to sleep and I couldn't. So we're here now, and so I'm heading for the Civic Hall. I'm heading for the Civic Hall, and hopefully I'm a bit early still. I've still got like about 3/4 of an hour to go before they open the doors. So I hope to meet up with some people, arrive plenty of time and early, meet up with some people, and have a good laugh, and have a bit of crack, you know, it's really great. So I'll go in, set up, hope I sell some books. Okay, I'm approaching the Holmfirth Civic Hall now, this lovely old building. It's typical of the architecture of the region, which I pointed out to you earlier. I don't know if it's like this all over Yorkshire, but certainly the area I was in has this kind of like, this particular look to it. There's already some people waiting, as you can see. Hello, greetings. Hello guys. And look, you can't miss this, can you? They haven't got it over the gate, but they got it there. Welcome to the Holmfirth UFO Truth Magazine conference. Brilliant, brilliant. Derek's there. Hello, Derek. Hello guys, how are you? You remember Derek from the Rendlesham Forest video? Here is my stall of the books there, and you've got the price list. Dreamy Horses t-shirts, yeah. I'm actually selling these, well, they're Tino's actually, he paid for them, but I'm selling these for £5 each now. Hopefully there'll be some more soon.
How we sounding at the back?
Definitely.
Okay, Roland, how we sounding at the back of the room?
We're just setting up at the moment, and here is the auditorium.
Condescending teenager, how are you?
And there's the official UFO Truth Magazine.
The stickers are £1 each. The pay-off, actually look.
I'm just having a morning cup of tea. I'm here in the auditorium. Oh, Derrel Sims is here. You may know him from, he's the alien implant guy. A very interesting chap, come all the way from the United States. I just realised I've got no bloody flow for the stall. But it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, morning. Oh, no. Recording. I'm recording, yeah, that's it. Got to satisfy my ego. Yeah, I'm doing a video. Yeah, I am. That's there's Gary and this other chap over there waving at me. Yeah, so what I found is, I mean, I don't know if you flow for the bloody store. What I find is though that sales, I've always found this on a two-day conference. Sales tend to go up on the second day. They tend to go up on in this case, the Sunday. So I'm likely to, I think, to sell more tomorrow than I will today, and that's because a lot of people who come to conferences, this includes me, will often spend the first day just looking around the stores, looking at what's available before they decide what to buy. And it's only after that they actually make the decision what they're going to buy, and then they go out and purchase something. So that, I think, is what is the case here. And so what I'll do is I'll write IOUs for people I don't have change for, and I will then reimburse them. Maybe I'll get some change tomorrow and reimburse them. That's all I can do. But obviously I'm going to need £5 notes, maybe £10 notes, things like that. I mean, look at the price I chose is a nice round 10. They're all so. I remember when I was selling, when the original Roswell Rising with the small print, I was £9, and I had to get loads of pound coins on me because everyone was slipping me tenors and things like that. And so it's much easier this way. But anyway, it's people haven't arrived yet. I got here early. And Larry's turned up with his sign, as you can see over there. That's his Larry. That's Larry and his sign. We've seen more of that later on. The famous sign. Come on, focus. I'll hopefully get a shot of that later. Everyone's coming in now. We're just setting up, getting ready for the first speaker. Well, as you can see, I've already sold a few books, which is nice. It's the first break. Alan Foster, very interesting chap. He's Alan was actually Alan's a good speaker, and he's knowledgeable. He has a wide range of interests, and I think he was put on very much as an introduction. I mean, he didn't go into depth into any speciality particularly this time, but he did an introduction, I would say, to the UFO thing. Hello, Derek. There's Derek there, of Rendlesham Forest fame. And you, mate, yeah. And Alan is very sort of. He starts off talking about the beginning, about there was aliens, ancient aliens and things like that. And he started talking about Roswell and abductions. He gave a good basic introduction to the whole issue, and I'll be saying more later about that because I think it's very important. So just basically, it's the first break now. Everyone's sort of like exploring stores and they're going out for breaks. And I'm here with Derek, and I've sold a couple of books already, which is great. So first session over, goes quickly, doesn't it? Godfrey's just finished his talk, and right now here he is, and he's just signing copies of his book, and I think this book's going to sell out long before mine does.
I've got 12.
I don't, sorry. It's, as you can see, I'll tell you, I've got some more books here. This is from Colin. Colin dropped this off for me. And look what it says here. Whoops, sorry. It says here, elevate your craft. This is from the UFO in Arizona, the UFO Congress in Arizona. There's books. He actually took some Roswells with him. As you see here, we put a stall there. Unfortunately, didn't manage to sell them, but I've got a few spare ones to sell on my stall if I should sell out of these ones. So, and if not, I'll sell them at Pro. So that's Colin. Here now. And yeah, sure. And it's True Seats North East. Yeah, I'll get rid of them for you. He's an interesting chap. He talks about his various things that have happened to him, like the death of Zygmunt Adamski, and also his own abduction experience. And he told us a few funny stories as well, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, he's an amazing chap. It's his last ever public appearance, Alan Godfrey. Philip, what you want, Maureen?
Is that alright?
Maureen, will your mum film? Oh right, yeah, there you go. I'll get a film in there.
12.
And that is Maureen there, from True Seats North East, with Alan Godfrey there. Oh. Is that alright, Dawn? Okay. Tino, as you know Tino well, and Tino has opened his present. This is the RF Bentwater's main site, original sign. And so, Tino, where are you going to hang that in your house?
I'm going to pride of possession, so probably, I don't know, maybe off the Houses of Parliament or Big Ben.
You've got like a real classic piece of memorabilia there, mate. It's lovely.
Okay.
It's a proper sign. Look, this. It's made of metal. It's really good. So I'll just get a nice shot of Tino there. Yeah. Brilliant. I hope you get to say a few words, mate. But I've got here.
I'm on leave for today, so I just wanted to. We've been in touch with email because we just talked about different abductions. So I said I would tell him about some.
Because I mean, I've got one in my arm. I found out. Yeah. These are various things. I mean, I'm sure when Derrel comes back, he'll explain. But there's various specimens and things that he's gathered over the years. And we have here a rather alarming picture of someone being abducted. Black light detectors. There's this alien photo fit thing here, like some of the police would use.
Can you remember being abducted?
Oh no, that's the weird thing, is I have no memory of any experience that would lead me to know. So my first question is when I found out I had this thing in my arm, how the hell did it get there? And here's his books. There's Tiger Wrestling. I don't know if that's him when he was a kid. And look at these are X-ray images. Now this is something I've never had done. Imaging. Because what can you do? I mean, just take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen, these various images, and he's got like books and things. I mean, the thing about it is, what can you do? I mean, am I supposed to go to my GP and say, could you please refer me to the X-ray department because space aliens put an image?
You got it.
put some object in my arm, he'd refer me, wouldn't he, to the psychiatric clinic. So I mean, and so I'd have to go private, you know. And it's what, £3,000 for an MRI or CT scan, you know. Mr. Sims, all right?
How you doing?
All right, thank you. I'm making a video. It's for my YouTube channel, Panmo TV. Is it all right if it's all right to use my get a shot of you? Is that all right?
A quick one, because I'm going to interview with her.
No problem. No. This is Mr. Derrel Sims here, who's a private investigator. You should have a Trilby hat on, not a Stetson.
I should.
Yeah. But are you enjoying yourself here at UFO Truth?
I'm having a great time and just love the conference. Actually, on a tour, I'm going from here. Then after I leave here in 2 days, I'll go to Cosenza, Italy, for a week, and then after that, I'll go to Istanbul, Turkey, for 10 days doing some research there.
Oh, brilliant! Well, I know you're a busy man. I know you've got work to do. You've got to see someone in a minute. But what's your speciality? Just in a few words.
My interest in the UFO phenomena is physical evidence. I'm a former police officer, ex-CIA for 2 years. And everything boils down to physical evidence to me. The stories are wonderful and great and all that, but the fact is there is evidence if you know how to find it. And that's what I show people how to do, is to find physical evidence of their actual UFO events.
That'd be like this is a collection of the various pieces of artifacts.
That is correct.
Right, that's amazing. Okay.
Various different things from, there are all kinds of evidence there, from even evidence from Bigfoot, from implants surgically removed from 25 surgeries, to all kinds of other evidence.
Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy your stay here in the United Kingdom and Europe, and thank you very much for being here at the UFO Truth Magazine conference.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here's Derrel Sims' card. Private investigator. Missing... check the integrity of people. 6 criminal charges, 42 felonies. Need someone to handle a tough situation? Yes. Yes. He's a member of Military Intelligence Course Association, former Intelligence Officers Association. How to detect lies. Memory recovery from oh, right, so he's an interesting chap. If you need any detective work done, call that number now or email the house detective. Oh, nice. He's a real magnum. Hello, Claire. How are you? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here at the UFO Truth Magazine conference. I'm joined by Cosmic Claire.
Hi there.
Yes.
Hey, Ben.
You know Cosmic Claire. You've watched her channel. She actually exists. Well, she's on.
I'm a real person.
We've known each other for a long time online. We finally met for the first time.
Great.
So Claire, are you enjoying yourself here at UFO Truth Magazine?
I am. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
cool.
Had to get up at 6 o'clock to get here this morning, but we're here.
It's worth it. Coming all the way from Leeds. Yeah. So, how are you getting on with your own work at the moment and your own search?
I'm my current book. I'm finally onto the typesetting, which will probably involve a bit of editing more as I go through. But at least I've got the first 75 pages typeset. I've just got to get out. It's about 290 pages, and unfortunately, the last 2 years have been rather turbulent in my life because unfortunately I've lost my 2 closest family members.
I remember. Yeah, I'm sorry
since the beginning of 2018, which has unfortunately rather interrupted my flow when it comes to getting the book finished. But it's very interesting because, as is so often the case with these things, it's led to me coming across a whole lot of other bits of information which I wouldn't have been able to include had I got it out at earlier stages. And so it's kind of been one of these synchronous pathways, you know what I mean?
It's rather like Capel Green, it's similar to that.
Well, yes. In fact, I was just saying to my friends earlier that when Gary keeps on saying, well, Capel Green's been put off because we found some new information that we have to edit in.
Yeah.
Well, that's my excuse as well, not just the sad loss of my 2 family members, but also every time I find a new bit of information, if it's important enough, it has to go in and be factored into the mix somehow. So
if your book can be a better book as a result, it's a great tribute to them.
Yeah, and so I'm just gonna. I won't give away what it's about yet.
No, you mentioned it on your channel.
I've mentioned it on my channel, so if you want to find out, go to my channel.
It's going to be a bit. I think you have told me privately, and I think it's going to be a bit different to your previous publications.
It is going to be a bit different, but actually, one thing I've realised is in common is that it's something that it's like a kind of mini world that I've participated in, but then gone against the mainstream opinion of it, because that's what happened when I was in the 100th Monkey business in the mid-90s. I originally got into that wholeheartedly, and it was a very interesting experience, but in the end I kind of realised that they were actually wanting to do something that was different from what I wanted to do, and that I wanted to go to the 100th Monkey and try and help create a more field where people can be strong and independent, and I better not say his name, but if you know who organised the 100th Monkey, it's now clear that he is, one, a globalist, two, a supporter of the international caliphate, and believes in a new world order, one world government, which I'm very well, it's partly why I had to write the book, because if I ever do the sequels, we'll find out more, but in the book I end up getting more into exploring my own path and overcoming my own obstacles, rather than what the main thing about it ended up being, which was trying to kind of affect the world in ways that we wanted to, and we kind of see that the world has in some ways been affected by the way that you see a lot of the social justice stuff that we see in the world today. I think in many ways was psychically seeded by things like the 100th Monkey Camp 25 years ago.
Well, that's an interesting position. I mean, obviously, the New Age side of things has always been, in a sense, as David Icke has pointed out, it's become more and more like just another religion, and he talks about the Lucis Trust and things like that, about how the United Nations is involved in it. I've been to the Findhorn community, and I was very disappointed, I must say, with what I found there. It was great your new book is so close to being completed.
Well, I do hope to complete it this year.
Right.
Where are we in now? September, and well, I don't know what to say really, but I'm just plugging away at it, and I have so many other things, unfortunately. I'm giving a talk on Tolkien in a week's time, because Tolkien lived in Headingley, near where I live.
Brilliant.
So there's some influences from that about Tolkien that I should be talking about at a local walk in a few days' time.
Right, well, I do hope you'll come to Oxford and do your Tolkien talk, because of course that's Tolkien Central, Oxford.
It is.
Yeah, so if you don't get banned by the council, because I know you've been banned in a few places.
Well, yes.
I do hope you'll come to Oxford and do your talk there.
Well, I could maybe. I mean, the thing about the talk is it's actually a walk around some of the places that Tolkien will have gone to. But perhaps we'd better finish the.
Yes, we're starting up. We're under starters orders for the next talk, which is, I believe, it's the interview with Alan Godfrey. So enjoy it. Thank you very much, Cosmic Claire.
Thank you for having me, Ben,
okay.
and having me on Papanwo TV. Thank you.
There's a nice car. Porsche Ferrari, isn't it? No, Ferrari, isn't it? Nice one. Anyway, I'll come out because I've got to get some float for the stall. I miss Hugh Newman. He's speaking at the moment. I'm missing his talk. That's a shame, but I've got to get out there sometime, and I can't get out on the brakes. But I am going to just get some float and go back. It means I've got to buy a couple of things from the shops and just that's the change. So that's what I'm doing next. So I just walk along here, get the shops, it should be alright, and I'll go back. But it's been really great so far, I've really enjoyed it. Fantastic sort of group of people, and so much going on. I'll have to probably say more this evening when I've got more time, but it's really, really enjoyable. I heard Hugh Newman. I've been with Dawn. You know Dawn from Truth Seekers North East. I'm actually giving out the flyers for Truth Seekers North East on there. And it's a fascinating chap talking about giants, isn't he? Yeah. Okay. Giants, and absolutely brilliant. And there's no doubt, right, there are huge people, like huge skeletons, way beyond what we have. They've been found. The bones have been found. There's legends of the lost beings and creatures like that, which are huge. And in Genesis chapter 12, there were giants on the earth in those days and things like that. Oh yeah, so the mainstream scientists deny it, but they existed. Hugh Newman, obviously I missed a part of his talk. He's really brilliant. He reminds me of Maria Wheatley. Dawn's could be camera woman. Oh, thanks. He reminds me of Maria Wheatley. I think he's really, really fascinating. And Gary's going to go on his tour, so I wish I could join. I wish I could go too. Oh my God, Dave's here. Hello, Dave. Hey, Dave. Yeah, so I'm meeting up with other people and like that. It's really, really good. I'm having a wonderful time here. So yeah, I'm running out of books. You can see here. I've almost sold out of reveals. That's all right. It's okay, no problem. I've got some more here. Now these are ones that Colin tried to flog at the UFO Congress. He couldn't sell any of them, but I've got some reveals and risings. I think that's the old rising. I'm not sure. Anyway,
you can actively sell one now for me then.
What?
You can catch it on camera.
This. Yeah, sorry. Do you want to be honest? Okay, I will. How many? Which ones do you want?
The first one.
Just the first one. These are old editions. These are all old editions. This is the old Roswell Revealed. It shouldn't really sell at the same price because it's internally it's exactly the same. But these Roswell Risings are very different. I've had them re-edited, so they're not as good as these. So I probably won't sell that at full price. Probably knock a few quid off those ones. Well, it's the end of day one. The Q&A session's over. Everyone's moving out. As you see, I sold a few more books. I haven't sold any of the old Roswells, but book sales are going alright. Very interesting day, I'd say, and I'll say more about it later. Can I have a little drink, and then there's the skywatch tonight. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are now heading up to what's it called? It's I forgot the name of the place, Tino. But it's a high hill, and there's a lot of high hills near Holmfirth, and we're going skywatching tonight. So we've had a lovely day at the conference. We've had a couple of pints, and I've got something to eat when I'm up there, and we're now heading up to the top of this place. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm feeling the pressure on my eardrums. Now that row of red lights is actually not a UFO. It is actually a mast. It's like a communications mast. You can see the moon going through the clouds there. It looks absolutely beautiful. This is just really good weather. I mean, there is cloud cover, but it's very thin. And so it's just really, really good weather. It's quite warm actually for the time of year and the geographical location. I can feel the pressure on my ears. We are like 1,700 feet, Gary told us it was, and there's a spectacular view of the Holme Valley. It's really lovely. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's extremely windy. And I'm now on a mountainside. I'm here with this Liz and Mum. Just don't forget the team. Crafty Niner. Is this windy? It's yeah. Unlike me, she has hair to deal with. It's good everywhere. I don't know how much you can see of me. It's windy, but there's thin cloud, and the moon is over there. Looks really nice. You can just see it coming, peeking out from behind the clouds. This is good. There's good sky watching, but unfortunately it's a bit too chilly. Of course, you can't come up to the top of a hill here in West Yorkshire and expect it not to be windy. Not be too long. Just have a quick recce round and then head back. Liz and Mark live in it, they're staying near me, so it'll be a good way of they can just drop me off. It's really, really nice. Sort of like I don't have to worry about getting home, which is nice. I'm now just looking at the sky, and all my friends are here. It's just fun, it's just pool part. We're lucky to have the weather. So I won't do any more filming up here unless I see something significant. But anyway, it's not completely you've got your own YouTube channel.
Yeah, we've got 5 subscribers. The craft artist is content.
You know, I started off like that. We all start with something, but it'll build with time as people get to know you. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. I'll play it soon. And it looks diamond shaped. I think that's just an effect of my camera. I think it's aircraft landing lights, unfortunately. We're just watching it to see if it moves or if it changes. But I don't think there's anything particularly. If it looks like a diamond, that's just my camera lens. It's not that shape. It's just like a point of light. But we just watch it in case it does zoom off or does something like that. Yeah, that'd be quite interesting. But just look at the view, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this spectacular view of the whole valley. It's really lovely here. These masts. They actually relay radio signals into the area down is the valley where you don't get a line of sight communication. It's not moving, is it? It's just sitting there, isn't it? It's just sitting there. Yeah. I'm just waiting to see if it moves, because if it's a plane, it will move. I don't think its aspect changes. Is it changed at all? I think maybe moving slightly.
It's coming towards you.
Is there some flickering with it? Because if it's flickering, that's a plane. It's like, let's have a quick look at it. Is it twinkling? Yeah. I can see. I don't know if it's nav lights or on the side of it. We'll see when it gets closer. It appears. Is it me or is it just getting brighter and approaching us? Because we did see a very bright. We actually saw like a diamond formation of lights flying near the mast, and we thought that's like something weird, but it's not. It was a plane flying over. Gary now says it's a plane, but I mean we'll see. We'll wait and see just to confirm that. Just want to confirm it.
Everyone together.
What? We are getting our photos took. All right, yeah. All right. I'm just keeping an eye on that light, just in case it does something weird. All right. Just having our photo taken at the moment. Can you see something in the light behind us? All right, yay. It's a fantasy island. Oh, look, here's a plane. Look, it was a plane. You see like the lights, the green light on the right, red light on the middle. Can't hear its engine noise because it's too windy here. Oh then. I'm going back with Liz and Mark, alright mate. But I'll see you tomorrow, my friend. Take care. Okay, I'm back at the hotel now. It's about 10:30. That made me room up. Oh, still, they haven't replaced all the things I had for cups of tea and stuff. So some of these travel lodges are better than others, I must admit, at things like that. But never mind. I've got the TV to watch. I've got Andrew Johnson's books to read. So, I'll probably settle down with them and go to bed. It's been quite a day, and it's going to be another one tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Anyway, night night everyone. See you in the morning. It's a Sunday morning over Huddersfield. I'm enjoying the less impressive view from this side of the Travelodge. And in a short time, I'll be heading for the UFO Truth Magazine conference. Just gone 8 o'clock. Which means it's day 2 of the UFO Truth Magazine conference this Sunday. And so I thought I'd say a few more words about yesterday. Things I didn't really have time to talk about on at the actual time, like in the break between the speakers and things like that, because there is just no time. I'm either socialising or selling books, hopefully in equal proportions. But I've made notes during the talks, and I just thought I'd say a few more words about the speakers first of all. Alan Foster, I think he's the most regular speaker at the UFO Truth Magazine conference. I think he's been at one of the southern conferences. I think he's spoken more than once at the main conference here in Holmfirth. And he received the award. He received a Courage in Ufology award, which Gary Heseltine presented to him. It's the real thing, not the cheap parody that David Young organised for his complete fraud and complete charade in Woodbridge. This was the real thing. And so Alan very proudly was presented with this award. He very proudly received it, and yeah, well deserved. Alan specialises in many areas. However, his talk was more or less an introduction to the subject. And Gary knows what he's doing when he put in the order he puts these speakers in, and he doesn't just put them in randomly. He put Alan as first speaker on Saturday because he knew that some of the people attending had not attended a any kind of UFO conference before. He asked this at the beginning in one of his classic opinion polls. He said, "Hands up who's never been to a UFO Truth magazine conference?" Hands up who has never been to any UFO conference. And a surprisingly large number of hands did go up. So that's quite something. I mean, it's someone like Alan is necessary. He serves the same purpose as Andy Thomas, I think, in that regard. Indeed, Gary got Andy to speak at one of the conferences too. I think for that same reason. Introductions to people who have not had any experience of this particular subject are a vital service. And so, for those in the audience who are sitting there thinking Alan was teaching his grandmother to suck eggs, I'd ask them to bear that in mind. Definitely. This is not to say that Alan is not a specialist. He is. He knows a lot about a certain amount of things. Now, it's interesting, he talks about the communication with ET consciousness. That was the title, Communication with ET Consciousness. And it included some of the elements that I also mentioned in my SETI talk, which I've done 3 times now. And I actually did that talk when I actually spoke at the UFO Truth magazine conference a few years ago. He goes back into the past with the, I think, proven case that extraterrestrials have interacted with humans on Earth, probably since before there were humans. I've got a feeling, in fact I'm virtually certain that they have been on this planet before we were on this planet. And indeed, evidence from ancient Egypt, from various other forms of archaeology, I think, prove that. He mentions he goes into the Roswell situation, crash retrievals, which, as you know, is a particular favourite of mine. I'm glad he did, because I'm sure people who listened to Alan's speech would have noticed the merchandise on my stall. So thanks, Alan, for that. Now, this famous case, this is the New York abduction of 1989. It involved a lady called Linda Napolitano. I think she had a different name in those days. Someone I know her actually just through the internet. I sort of have communicated with her directly. And apparently there was a power cut on that day, 30th of November 1989. And it's very strange, because Linda herself it was a classic abduction. She was taken from her bed by 4 aliens, levitated through the window to a craft that was outside. The craft then disappeared underneath the River Hudson, which runs through New York City. And that's the kind of thing. So it's a classic kind of thing. What made this unique was the independent witnesses. Several security guards from the diplomatic squad actually witnessed this particular person being levitated out. I bet they saw a woman wearing a nightdress floating through the air with 4 grey aliens surrounding her. I mean, that's pretty weird, isn't it? And all kinds of other things happened after that. You can read about it in Bud Hopkins' book. Linda was kidnapped. Oh God, it's a long story, but it's really quite amazing, quite a remarkable and alarming story. But again, that's something that does happen to abductees. He talked about the Operation Cobra Mist. Now, this is something connected with the Rendlesham Forest incident, possibly directly with the Rendlesham Forest incident. It certainly talks about the Signals Research Station, which is on Orford Ness, which is a few miles from Rendlesham Forest. Now, this is something that's come up several times. Indeed, Brian Allen brings this up in The Hole in the Sky, which is his really good book actually about UFOs and things like that. You see, it was what was going on there at this place, Cobra Mist, was they were experimenting with over the horizon radar. This is like radar which can detect things at a longer range than conventional line of sight radar, which just really can only see as far as the horizon. I mean, it's better than vision because it can see through mist and fog and things like that, but it can't see over the horizon. Over the horizon radar actually uses the ionosphere, the highly charged layer of the Earth's atmosphere, as a reflector. And for that reason, it can actually use that to sort of. It's almost like one of those blind corner mirrors you see when you're on very, very sharp bends in a road. You can actually see round the corner, and this is what they were experimenting with. But it's possible that the transmissions, the very powerful electromagnetic waves that were coming from that particular facility, and you can still see the antenna. Actually, it's this huge. It looks like a huge fairground ride. This giant lattice of steel, which has never been dismantled. It's too big to really dismantle, so it's sitting there rusting on the disused facility. That was creating such powerful electromagnetic waves. It's possible that had some kind of effect on the area around the Woodbridge Bentwaters base, and possibly resulted in the emergence of the aliens and UFOs themselves. Brian explains more in his very good book, The Hole in the Sky, by Brian Allen. Do check that out. There's a little rainbow over there. I don't know if you can see it. There's a slight rainbow. It just may not come on the film. I think you can see it. There's a slight rainbow over there. Yeah. The forecast is for a bit more wet weather today, so it's a good job we did the skywatch last night. Now, he talked about animal mutilations, other forms of communication, such as aliens speaking in human languages, which does happen. Sometimes they just talk to you. They just talk to you the way we speak to each other, by manipulating sound waves using our airways and mouths. Now, he mentions implants as well. Derrel Sims is going to say more about this. And this was a particular interest to me because, of course, that mark on my arm is still there. It's still there, and I've got no reason to think that the thing that was put in there has been moved out. If you remember, I first noticed that mark on my arm in the UFO Truth magazine conference a few years ago. I've since had it scanned, and there is indeed some strange object in there. And the weird thing is I've got no memory of any experience that would lead me to believe that had been done. Very strange, isn't it? He talked about the Mexican eclipse. That was weird. Now, Jaime Maussan's gone on about this. Now, Jaime Maussan goes on about everything, doesn't he? Bless him. I actually interviewed a guy, Darcy Weir, on her Panmo radio, just literally the day before I came out of here to this event, and we were talking about Jaime. He's done a documentary about Jaime. And yeah, the Mexican eclipse happened. It was very interesting because it was predicted long ago by the very accurate astronomers of the Mayan culture. So it was predicted over 1,500 years before it actually happened, which is very, very, very amazing. It shows how accurate their astronomers were. But they did say this particular eclipse would be special because it would mark the reappearance of the Watchers. I can't remember what they call them. These particular supernatural beings, these deities that the Mayans believed in. That these are somehow the guardians of the earth or something. This particular eclipse, the Watchers would appear in the sky, and this would herald a massive change in the earth, which would lead to improvements. It said it wouldn't exactly be like the Judgment Day or anything, but it would be an improvement on the current situation we have now. And that's a recurring theme in mythology, and it's I do wonder if it's coming true when you look at the 2016 effect and things like that. But if you remember during the 1991 eclipse, UFOs were seen. These things that were known as the pearls, which are like small white spheres that appeared in the sky, thousands of them in a swarm. Funnily enough, I saw one of them, a single white sphere, in Oxford in 2008. So I don't know if there's a connection there. A few years later, it's one of the things that when aliens communicate in many, many different ways. I mean, the thing about aliens is people think they're all the same. They tend to think they're all the same. They talk about them as a singular. They say the aliens, not aliens as aliens. It's like a plural word. It's almost like they're a singular. But of course, anyone who studies extraterrestrial encounters, abductions, contact cases, will know that the aliens are all very, very different. There's been several hundred species positively identified. There's an entire taxonomy of these creatures, from the Nordics to the greys to the mantids, etc., etc. There's so many different types. And they exhibit a wide variety of behaviour. They seem to have a large amount of agendas behind them. And they obviously, I don't believe they come from the same location. They probably come from more than one planet or dimension. Which means that when you say the aliens want this or the aliens want that, it's even more silly than saying humans are and humans aren't. Humans ourselves, just one species on one planet, can exhibit a wide variety of behaviours, from benevolent to destructive, from good to evil. The aliens, as I said, from what we've seen, Dr. Stephen Greer is wrong. I remember his argument with Kerry Cassidy. It's very quite. If you like internet blood sports, you'll love that. He says, well, the aliens are all benevolent, and if you meet any bad aliens, that's just government stagecraft. So if you meet, that's his logic. If you meet aliens, they're good, they're real aliens. You meet aliens, they're not bad. It's just the government stagecraft. It's just the government pretending. Now, that's false. It is completely false. At the same time, the lady sitting next to me, the lady who I don't know if you saw their stall. They're selling these books, and I read a little bit of one of them. She says basically it's kind of almost like a demonic intrusion. I mean, correct if I'm misquoting her and I misunderstand her, then I apologise. That's the impression I get from what she's saying. Again, that's false as well. The aliens, some aliens are indeed benevolent beings, it seems. Some are. The majority appear to. I'd say the majority appear to be just simply observing us. We're under neutral, detached observance. Very disinterested, really. They're just curious. There are a small number, luckily a minority, that do appear to intend us harm. They are a minority. Otherwise, of course, we'd be dead if they were the majority, wouldn't we? But we can't pretend they don't exist, because they do. And we can't pretend they're not real extraterrestrials, because they are. Now, Alan talks about crop circles. Crop circles are one of his specialities. He talks about the Chill Bolton. He talks about how aliens are very concerned about the environment. One of the things that comes up again and again, going right back to Betty and Barney Hill, is they're concerned about human behaviour. They say we're being very destructive, we're not living in harmony with nature. And goodness knows, I mean, you can't deny that's true. Sometimes people are shown visions of the future world full of forest fires and things like that. And, well, look what's happening in the Amazon. Yeah, massive die-offs, mass extinctions, things like that. It's true. And the aliens are concerned about that. Now, funny enough, Alan brought up the same subject I did in my SETI talk. That's the Chill Bolton Radio Observatory and the crop circles that appeared around that. Some of the most amazing crop circles, in my opinion, that have ever been made. Like the grey alien holding the disc and things like that. Incredible dot matrix images. Really amazing. He talks about that. I don't know, I mean, thing is, when I did that talk, someone in the audience came up to me and told me, Ben, that's made by humans. It's made by some guys with planks, I know who did it. All right. And the thing is, that same person was in the audience this time, and I don't know if he's actually going to approach Alan and say the same thing to him. But of course, the thing is, I mean, the thing about man-made crop circles is, yes, some of them are man-made, and I can't deny that this could be one of them. The problem with that is that it actually comes up in something else that Alan brings up. That's the famous Hackpen Hill cube. It's a 3D image of a very amazing crop circle, another incredible one, 3D image. And that is that sometimes they are kind of, you'll get like, see, I know some of the guys who make these things, and not just Matthew Williams, a few of the others. who make these things with planks. And when that appeared, 2 separate crop circle making teams claimed responsibility for it. They both said it was their creation. And obviously either one of them's lying or both of them are lying. So interesting talk by Alan, yeah, very much indeed. He did like an armchair conversation with Gary, and he talked about various things. The giggle factor, which of course has been running since the Robertson panel in 1953, when they said UFOs should be denounced through official ridicule and denial. That's still going on today, and it seems, well, it has worked pretty well, unfortunately, but there's a sign that UFOs are being taken more seriously now, as I said yesterday morning. The way that the government has decided to handle information flows has distinctly changed. And that is possibly an indication that the original cover-up strategy is failing, and they're trying a new one. Very interesting. Alan is also, like myself, he's interested in spiritualism, near-death lucidity, near-death experiences. It was an interesting talk, very interesting talk indeed. Alan Godfrey, he was, of course, now he didn't talk much about his experience, his actual abduction experience in his particular lecture. Alan is, he's a really lovely chap. I mean, he remembered me too from St Anne's, when we met at St Anne's, which was really nice, and because quite clearly he has, I don't know how to say this, he has suffered in terms of his mental health as a result of his illness, and you can see actually, because he makes jokes about it, like his handshakes and things like that, but he's not fighting fit the way he used to. He has been ill. He's been very ill. And he is luckily now recovering, but he's still not quite right. And of course, I'm sure you join me in wishing him all the best for a complete and speedy recovery. But he talks about some strange things, such as firstly he's selling his books. And I mean, do you remember his book from the last probe video? Because I did buy a copy of his book. I've read some of it. It's really good. It took him 30 years to write that book. It's not a long book, but a lot went into it. They were all on sale and they all sold out. It was pretty good. This is he said is going to be his last public appearance. I think he just wants now to retire from the public circuit, spend the rest of his life with his family, and it's understandable. That's quite understandable. So I wish him all the best for that. But he didn't talk about his experience. He talked about how he led up to this. One night he and his this was one night in 1980. He and his fellow officer, his partner. Well, they were ordered to drive around the area around Todmorden. Yeah, it was somewhere near Todmorden and Tingley, that sort of area in West Yorkshire, looking for missing cattle. And because apparently some cows had escaped from a farm or something, and they thought they'd find them all together. Cows tend to sort of like herd together, so they were pretty sure they'd find them all together. And they spotted them a couple of times and had to chase them. It was all a bit weird. There was something a bit supernatural about that. But then he turned around the corner, he went out on his own. He left his partner down at the police station, went out on his own in his car, and he came across the strange UFO just sitting in the middle of the road. And but I think what happened next he'll probably talk about this afternoon, because he's going to do his talk with Gary. He's going to do his armchair interview with Gary this afternoon. He had hypnosis with a psychologist. He attended a psychologist. He was hypnotised. He recalled the missing time that he experienced when he was aboard his craft, and as a result, for a short time, he became a national and international celebrity. He was being interviewed on TV, things like that, and this had terrible consequences for his career, and he talks about that in his book. He may talk about that this afternoon. But interestingly enough, he appeared. You can get this on YouTube, and the first thing I'm going to do when I get home is look this up, because he appeared on YouTube on this morning, or was it the Big Breakfast, or one of these breakfast shows, being interviewed about his experience in the days when Frank Boff and Selena Scott used to present the programme, and in the studio with them was another presenter, a young sports journalist called David Icke. I wonder if David Icke remembers it. But I've got to watch that as soon as I get home. I'd love to see David's reaction. Because this was years before his turquoise period, when the top of his head blew off and he had his Kundalini. This was years before then. So I'm curious to see exactly what will actually happen. I really, really will be really interested. Now, Haktan Akdogan is a Turkish ufologist, and I met him early. He's a lovely chap, really nice chap, speaks good English, and he talked about various things, what he did, because he is he is quite unique in the sense that he occupies a slot, I think, in society in his own country that you don't find anywhere in the English-speaking world. That is a pop ufologist, and I mean, when I say that, I don't include people like Nick Pope, because they are essentially he's just a guy you have on speed dial for news stories, to come in and say, I can neither confirm this, I can neither confirm or deny this, and all the other rubbish that Nick Pope speaks. But this is he actually presented a program about UFOs on mainstream Turkish TV. So in that respect, he's very similar to Jaime Maussan. Again, this is something you don't get in North America, apart from Mexico, and you don't get really in Britain or Ireland. That is the mainstream position of UFOs. So it seems like Turkey, in many ways, far more progressive than my own country, or US and Canada in that respect. That they do actually have. It does actually have a public profile, which is not just ridicule, which is quite something. Now, he talks about his TV show is called UFO Reality. He shows lots of clips from it, which is a bit frustrating because I can't speak Turkish, and I think, apart from Haktan, I don't know if anyone else in that room could speak Turkish. But it was subtitled, but I couldn't actually read the subtitles from where I was sitting quite close to the back of the auditorium. They had the same problem with Robert Fleischer when he was here last year, because he showed what would have been, I mean, I've looked them up on YouTube since then, and they're very interesting videos, which are subtitled, where he challenges, Richard D. Hall style, like various politicians on UFOs in public Q&As. And I do wonder if I do think I'll probably have to do that again, because I couldn't read the subtitles. It's a shame. But it's really very interesting stuff. That was very interesting talk indeed. And he talked about basically the Turkish UFO scene, and it was not anything I didn't expect, but it was interesting to have that kind of aspect from a country that I know very little about, a country I've never visited. The country's language, as I said, I don't speak. Very, very, quite something. Now, there was an interesting Hugh Newman. It was very interesting. Hugh Newman did a lot of discussions. He went into a lot of things about megaliths in the same way that Maria Wheatley does. And he also talked about ancient aliens. He actually built on a lot of what Brian Forster and that was doing like last year. And it's a fascinating thing. Because as I said, like Alan Foster was talking about, UFOs are not new. They're a perennial thing. Our interaction with extraterrestrials is being as much a part of our species' experience as walking upright. And it dates back that far, I believe. There are cave paintings all over the world talking showy creatures like aliens, grey aliens, things like that. And there's things like the Serpent Mound, which is in Ohio, which is like a very strange thing. Unusually it's in North America, which has a far less abundant megalithic tradition than, say, South America or Central America. But it's no less fascinating. Maria Wheatley had talked about various megaliths you find in North America. This one is in Ohio, USA. It's called the Serpent Mound. It resembles a snake. And some people say it resembles a snake with an egg in its mouth. To me, it looks like a sperm cell, which would have been amazing because they didn't have microscopes back then. I mean, the native Indians didn't have microscopes, I'm sure. How could they have seen these things? How did they know these cells existed? If that's what it is, unless the aliens told them. And he talked about there's there's more in South America, because like when he mentions Göbekli Tepe, I hardly need to bring up Göbekli Tepe because that is the smoking gun. But Tiwanaku was another site, and that's not as well known as Göbekli Tepe, but I think it is. It deserves to be. It deserves. I'm actually getting a lift off the Crafty Nihilist. They gave me a lift back, so they're picking me up in about 10 minutes. So I'll be quick. Also, giants. Now, giants, you think of course, of figures from legends across the world, fairy tales, fee, fi, fo, fum, etc. But giants exist, I believe, and indeed there's several people who talk about living giants in places like the Solomon Islands, like Marius Boyajian, or whatever his name is, and several other people. But Hugh was talking about old giants from the past, and he's talking about skeletons that have been found. And there's been, like, for example, I wrote myself, and I talked before about how an archaeologist, Dr. Muhammad Ali in Iraq, not the boxer, he dug up graves, which there were 8 of these graves in Iraq, dating back roughly 3,000 years, and they were for individuals who were 10 feet tall. This makes them more than a foot taller than Robert P. Wadlow, who was the tallest accepted mainstream on record tallest man on earth. Robert P. Wadlow was 8 foot. He reached 8'11" before he died. So that he was an inch short of the 9 foot line. Huge guy, absolutely massive guy. I mean, I've seen in museums where his shoes are like, he's got like these size 29 boots. But he's just, these guys were 10 feet tall. 10 feet tall, a foot taller. And they had clothing, in the grave there was clothing and tools and eating utensils to match their size. And Hugh has found other shoes, giant shoes, like, huge, enormous shoes. Shoes like the size of canoes, giant big shoes. You can almost sit in these shoes. Indeed, in Nevada, USA, there's a massive depository of old bones that are now at the Smithsonian Institute. And there's heads of people who would have stood 12 feet tall. Indeed, the local Indians in Nevada have legends of enormous species of people, giants. And they were terrified of these giants because the giants used to hunt normal-sized humans for food. It was kind of, I don't know if you call it cannibalism, because these things were hardly human. You can't so call a humanoid 12 feet tall human. They used to hunt them for food, grind their bones to make their bread, as the saying goes. And that's very common, and this is something, there's a cover-up of this. And someone in the Q&A asked, why are they covering up? Why are they covering up these giants? And he said it's got a lot to do with the politics of the Red Indians, or Native Americans as they're called in modern politically correct language. There's the Native American Grave Repatriation and Protection Act. This is something that's been enormous, it's caused enormous problem for ET research. As you know, the mummy, the famous Slides mummy from 2015, the Roswell Slides mummy, which actually, despite the debacle of it not being from Roswell and the embarrassment we all know about, which I talked about on my UFO disclosure videos, it's still something weird about that particular mummy. The problem is the mummy's gone. In 1997, it came under that particular act. It was buried. It was given back to the Pueblo people, who they're the modern descendants of the Mesa Verde culture, and they carried out a full funeral for this 3,000-year-old corpse, and it's now buried. And you can't, if you dig it up now, you're going to be in big trouble, because it's a very serious criminal offence to dig up a grave. It's got rights of sepulchre. There's talk about human mutilations. Of course, this is something which people like Linda Moulton Howe don't want to go there, but it's a real thing. Unfortunately, we're not special. I think in the eyes of the aliens. I mean, for the ones that are doing the mutilations, they're taking all kinds of animals, wild animals, farm animals, pets, sea mammals have been found with these injuries on. Why would we think we were different? What reason would we arrogantly suppose we would be exempt from that? Interesting. The Storm Area 51 thing. Now, I'm actually going to do a live stream next weekend because it's due to happen next Saturday on the 20th. I'll do a live stream for it. The Storm Area 51, when it first came out, I thought it was hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. I'll say more about it during the live stream. But I do hope nobody takes it seriously. I really do. I mean, there's going to be a festival there. There's going to be a music festival and some arts and things like that up in near Rachel, Nevada. Go along to it, have fun, but for goodness sake, don't try and invade the base. Please don't. Firstly, it's a 14-mile distance from the road, the extraterrestrial highway. Now, you can't run 14 miles across the desert with your arms behind your back. You will die of heat exhaustion. It's 112 degrees on average. You can't do that. If you succeed in reaching the fence line, try to cross it. The camo dudes, the security guards there, they are heavily armed, and if they are ordered to defend the base, if they believe the base is under threat, they will open fire, and we'll see a massacre. Lots of people are going to get killed. Yeah, as I've said, I'm not against the invasion of Area 51, but if you're going to do it, you have to do it properly. You have to have equal firepower. You have to take them by surprise. Don't tell them when you're going to turn up. I'll say more about that during the live stream. Okay, but so that's a sort of summary, good sort of analysis of day one of the UFO Truth Magazine conference here in my hotel room, where it's a bit more genial and I can say more about what happened. Right now, Liz and Mark, the Crafty Nihilist, will be appearing pretty soon. So I'm going to head for the lobby and wait for them. It's starting to cloud over a bit now, as you can see. It's getting the weather's not going to be as nice today, but the skywatch is out the way. I just hope that it doesn't rain too hard for people. But if it is so, we're going to be indoors. So time to head off. See you there. Holmfirth. I've got to pop in the postcard now a beer. Lots of cyclists. There do seem to be lots of cyclists around here. So I've just been eating. I've got some stuff in my mouth. Liz and Mark, the Crafty Nihilist, they gave me a pastry, a pan of chocolat, which is very nice. So I've got a beer in the postcard later. That's a fire brigade thing over there. I think training tower. You see that thing sticking up. Just going to walk up here to the civic hall. The doors are open. That's good. There we are. Welcome to UFO Truth Magazine conference. Something for which Holmfirth has become famous, or should I say infamous. I want to have a look around inside. This is the entrance here. As you see here, that just tells everyone what it's all about. Morning, everyone. Morning. How are you? All right, Tina. Here we are.
Morning, Ben.
Morning. How are you, sir?
Hi, sir.
And here's the things you can get here if you pick up these various things. Good morning, gents. How are you?
Morning.
And today we have Gabor to Charlie. I'm Godfrey. Derrel Sims. Yeah, nice one. Very good. It's Sunday morning. Things are just starting. They're just warming up. And here we have these ladies' stalls. Just look at these stalls here. I was checking out the stalls. Now, I've got one of these books. I've got that one.
Have you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I've got that one. And
Most likely to take one of those as well.
Oh right, I haven't actually finished this one yet. I've not finished it yet, no. But I've read a bit of it. It's interesting stuff.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. LS4 comes out today.
Oh right, it's your new one.
That's really a cracker.
There's old. These are old covers from UFO Truth Magazine. And you see here, the truth is here. That's the catch. That's our little motto. The truth is already here. Dr. Edgar Mitchell. That's the cover marking his passing. And as it turns out, he seems to have been since he passed away. Quite a lot has come out from his archives. Old covers, isn't it? So these are covers from past issues. New Ships of Light in Tez Potland, That's what some of the things that Sir Hugh Newman was talking about. There's UFO Truth Magazine. Hello everyone, hello. And here we have the stage. And how are you? Did you sleep all right? All right. I will be, but I won't be putting it on YouTube. Cable Green. And we got like, and this is the sign, the famous signs there. UFO Truth magazine, there we go. And you come around here, and we have where we get a tea and coffee. And we go back around here. We'll just take a little circuit. There's another cover over here. Hello, how are you, Tina? All right. There's another cover. UFOs and that's the one Richard D. Hall made. This is where you get tea and coffee. Hello, how are you? Oh, hello, nice to meet you. How are you? How are you getting on? Oh, good. You weren't here yesterday, were you? No. Oh, sorry, it was good yesterday. How are you, mate? All right, how are you?
Not too bad.
Oh, good to meet you. Thanks for coming. Sorry?
We stayed over.
Yeah, I'm in Huddersfield.
So you had a few beers and...
Well, I did last night. I went skywatching last night. It's pretty good. Yeah, but it's good to meet you. Oh, there was a hill. There's a place up there, a hill where there's a mast, and it was very windy though, so we didn't stay long. But we did have some fish and chips. Yeah. But it's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. See you later. Hey, how's it going?
I tried.
But I texted you.
You didn't.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I texted you just to tell you. Listen, Mark they brought me. Yeah, sorry about that.
I tried to ring you, but couldn't get no reception.
Conference raffle prizes. Hello, how are you? You alright? Oh, very fine, thanks. Yeah, I'm really enjoying myself. It's a great weekend.
Yeah.
Really having fun. I'll come and have a cup of tea in a minute.
Yeah.
I will. Cheers. Oh yeah, I'm doing like a little video. I'm filming myself, and I always do this, and I put it on YouTube. Just like a little video diary. I love doing that. Hello. Good morning. Hello, Larry. How are you, mate? All right. Larry's turned up. YouTube, likewise.
It's a purpose attacking as we're today.
Oh, I can't wait. When I get back.
Attack sent to all the researchers. My book was pulled. The same old lies. They keep enjoying.
But Maury did a good write-up.
Yeah.
I haven't seen nothing. I'm not on these.
Amazing. Our write-up was. It was only we saw it just before we left last night.
This is what I told you about earlier. You know, these are the trolls and what they're doing. It's awful. So I'm doing my little video, Barry. But yeah, when I get.
You need to talk because I want to do some projects with you that you'll love.
Right. The morning event is over, and we had Alan Godfrey and the armchair thing, and we also had Gabor Chakali, and I'll tell you more about that later. But look at the pile's gone down. I got rid of all the old books, just one of them left. Yeah, so it's going really well. I've not an abundance of Roswell revealed, but I'm hoping they'll get there. Hello, David. So we just finished seeing Gary Heseltine talk about Capel Green, and I've got so much to say about that because I just seen a preview of Capel Green. It's not the same preview because I've had a little sneak preview before, like when I went to Awakenings Manchester. As I explained then, I was Dion and Tino were doing the whole just doing the raffle now. We're doing the big edit on it. It's a very professional job. It's not amateurish, and I'll be saying more about that later because someone's accused him of being amateurish. But anyway, I've been handed this. Now this is an upcoming conference I might be speaking at, so that's good. That's coming up in next year. And also, as you can see, I've sold all the old Roswell Risings, and I've sold the new ones. Lots of Roswell revealed. And that means a lot of people are reading it for the first time. They'll go on to read the other two. A lot of people have read these and they want to read the third. It's a good sales pattern, that is. Our keynote speaker, Derrel Sims, has just done his talk, and there's quite a lot to talk about. It's quite a lot. He's the last speaker, really going on to about implants and things like that, and there's so much to go into. I'll probably go into it later, but everyone's now having the final break, and after that we have the listeners' question and answer. So I can't think of any questions, so I probably won't ask any, but some might come to me. Anyway, I sold the last Roswell Rising, so that's a bit of good news. Yeah, the conference is over. We're just packing up now, and we're going to go home. Okay, the conference is over. We've left the room now. We helped clear up the chairs, and we've left the Civic Hall for the last time this year, and we're heading along here, and I'm going to show Colin and Craig, our other friend, we're going to show them the Exorcist steps, because I think you've seen these before, but there's a flight of stairs. I mean, Holmfirth is full of these little secret passageways and alleyways and things that really reminds me of the Exorcist. Do you remember those flight of stairs from that film where the priests keep falling and breaking their necks? That's Colin in front of you. I know he looks like he looks like the custard vicar, but he's actually Colin. He's actually Colin. Somewhere along, where are they?
Spooky if they've disappeared.
Yeah, that'll be the Mandela effect. Not there, no. Definitely the Mandela effect if they have. It was interesting that girls asked about the Mandela effect, because that's it's not really a ufological subject, but I find it very interesting. Because I'm a Looney Tunes guy personally. He's right though. I mean, it seems to be happening everywhere. People keep getting it all the time. And I mean, the examples he gave. I mean, he said that there's some of them I don't like. Some people say that bones in the body are the wrong way round or something.
Oh, you talked about the JFK.
Yeah, the JFK car. There was 6 people. I know it was Martin Greer, the driver, and the guy next to him. Here it is. Yeah, here are the Exorcist steps.
Are we going down here?
Yeah, there was Governor Connolly and his wife in the second row. And in the third row was JFK and Jackie. So I always knew there were 6 people in the car. You get that because I knew that they had to have Secret Service guys in the car, and they did. They had the driver Martin Greer, and the guy next to him, whose name I can't remember. The Connollys, and then the President, and the First Lady. And here we are. It is like The Exorcist, isn't it? Yeah. Look at that. Sorry, mate.
That's okay.
I got you in frame briefly. Is that all right?
That's okay.
So I'm not going to interview you. See? Yeah, it's like, oh yeah. So we're going to head for the pub.
A number of years ago when Timothy Good came, you did a walk round.
Yes, I did. I went all the way up that big steep hill, and I did manage to get to the top of it. And I thought, got to the top, and I was halfway up and wished I'd never started. I did get to the top. It's really quite amazing when you get to the top. I think this way, Cole.
Oh, is it?
This way, yeah. But that was the first ever conference. Was actually held in the room we're going to go into now.
Yeah.
It used to be like it's now the main bar of the pub, but it used to be like were you there, Till? Did you go?
Yeah, I missed that one.
Oh, it's good.
I always wanted to meet Timothy Good and I'll never do it.
Well, he might turn up. He's not retired as such,
right.
You know. He's still around, so you might do.
I think he is retired.
Is he? Timothy Good can't retire any more than Stanton Friedman can. Oh yeah. Oh, we're in the pub. The conference is over. We just had a big meal. And Colin, did you have a nice time?
Had a good time, yeah. Good time. Good speakers. Saw Derrel Sims today, who I'd last seen in Roswell in 2017, and he did a good talk. Who else did we have today? We had who else did we have today?
Gabor Chakali.
Yeah, that was good. Because I've never actually. That was interesting. I don't know if you mentioned about his little
the rod thing. Yeah, that was odd. That was.
A lot of people seem to say, well, why would he cut that up into 3 bits?
Yeah, well, I asked Derrel Sims about it, and he said apparently the owner won't let it be examined, which is annoying. But
I suppose if you cut it up into 3, though, I suppose there's less chance of. I mean, if it's going to be stolen, then you have to steal all 3 bits. So in some ways, I can see why there's, but also it might not work. I mean, how does he know what it does? Because the actual rod might only work if all 3 pieces are stuck together.
I wouldn't have cut it into pieces. I would not have cut it into pieces.
Well, yeah. It's, so that was interesting. And who else did we have? We had Gary talking about the film, Cape of Green.
Despite everyone thinks that's never coming, it's taking too long. But
it's definitely coming out, and I think it might be next year, early next year. And that looks good. And if we get the chance to see it in the cinema, that would be cool, because special effects it look really good. Actually, I don't know.
It's excellent. I mean, I was lucky enough to have a sneak preview. I tell you, the special effects are as good as anything in Hollywood. They really are. Really good. I think it's going to be a great movie.
It's going to be over 2 hours, which is
it's expanded. It's got longer as time went on, but it's been bloody good. So, Colin, you enjoyed.
Did a skywatch last night. It was a bit windy around the old ears, but we had a good time. I mean, it's always good. I'm not sure what's happening with his conference next year. Things might be changing a bit, but we'll see what happens there. And I recommend anyone get down, for a UFO conference. If you've got one going, there's not too many things around the UK, but. You should make the time to get it. The only trouble with this venue is it does sell out quite quickly. Maybe that's why he might be mixing it up a bit next year. He's not announced anything officially yet, but
he hasn't given any details. But I think Gary's got plans for change.
Might be a more geographical change of venues over a period of time, which might be which is good, because then that would appeal to other people who are not finding it easy to get to someone like here, because it is a bit of a remote area. As beautiful as it is a bit of a remote area. So I think it's good. So it's good to have change in subjects, and especially if you can get more people to come, and and it's either cheaper to do, or more rooms. Because I suppose the trouble here was, well, like for you, Ben, I mean, you couldn't get a room in.
No, I had to go to Huddersfield. Huddersfield's nearby.
I've been in Huddersfield before, but
it's been like. It's like everything's sort of like calming down a bit, Oh, cheers, Steve. Everything's calming down a bit now. Everyone's having meals. So the guys are still here, but they're all in the other restaurant having their meals. I'll go say goodbye to them before we go, but it's always that feeling. Oh man, it's that come down, isn't it? That massive decompression back into the so-called real world.
It is a bit.
It's smashing. It's like post-pro blues.
It's going to be quite tiring as well. These things as. Having been to conferences that have gone on for like 5 days, I mean, you can imagine what that, because it can be, it's physically, mentally draining.
Oh man, but it's been good to see you, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, Ben. I look forward to the next episode. Maybe we'll do Probe 1 again. Maybe.
Well, we'll both be at Probe in 2 weeks, so please do get to that. There's still time to buy tickets. By the time you watch this, the Probe won't be before the Probe conference probably, so do get along to that. Don't forget, I'm speaking on Sunday afternoon. Larry, it's been a great weekend. It's been great to meet you again, and hope you've had a good time.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
Good always seeing you, man.
It's always good to see you too. And you know what? Every time I come in, we get new information. We know what's happening. I think, the things that were looking up for us now. I think the tide's turning, and I think we're going to win this one, definitely.
Yeah, well, it's been won. They just don't know it yet.
Yes, exactly. Well, they're pretending. They're pretending they don't. That's the thing.
You're talking about the sickos. Yeah, well, they're going to get there in the end.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the movie, mate. It's going to be brilliant. But,
I really agree.
Yeah, this is a genuine whistleblower. It's all going to be proved to anyone who's not just an acolyte of the trolls. So, thanks very much, Larry.
Thank you, Benny. Love you, man.
Take care, buddy. Yeah.
Bye.
I mean by the old ones, the old books, as opposed to the new ones, as I'll show you. Now, I've sold all the Roswell Risings, the old Roswell Risings, but I've still got some old Roswell Reveals, the ones that Colin couldn't sell at UFO Congress in Arizona. But you can see, I'll show you the difference. What it is I put out a slightly new edition, and the new edition is a bit different. It's because I had the trilogy, so this is the new one here, part 2 of the Roswell trilogy, and you can see it has a little ad for the Roswell trilogy there, all 3 books, and there's that green stripe across the top. So it's sitting on a shelf. You can tell that it's you can tell which one it is easily, and it's got the number 2 there, 'cause that's the second book. This is the old one here. Same on the front. Look at the back. See how different it is? And it just says read the first book, because I'd only written 2 books by then, and there's none of the stuff on the back you see there, so that's what I mean. Now, I don't see why I shouldn't sell these at full price, because the interior is identical. In the case of the old Roswell Risings, I changed the content quite considerably. Well, it's the same story. I hadn't altered the story really significantly in any way, but I had corrected a few spelling mistakes. I had changed a few words, changed a few sentences sometimes in the new edition. So the new edition I consider quite superior to the old one. So I was selling the old Roswell writings for £5 as opposed to £10. So they've all gone now, so that's it. But in this case, I'm going to sell these at full price. There's 3 of them left. I'm going to sell them at full price because if you open it up and read it, the inside is exactly the same. It's only the cover that has changed. Good morning. It's Monday the 16th of September 2019. The UFO Truth magazine conference is over. After a very pleasant evening in the pub, in the Old Bridge Inn in Holmfirth, we had a few drinks and talked to some of the others. Went back to the hotel. I got back here about past midnight. I went to bed and have a good night's sleep. I discovered why my room is not made up, and that's because Travelodge obviously have changed their policy. They leave rooms as they are, unless you put this outside. Please make up my room. Stay more than one night. Please put me outside before 11 AM and we'll freshen your room and make your bed. So that's why. That explains it. That's why it explains why I'm drinking this decaffeinated coffee without sugar or milk, which is not my favourite. It's a tipple, but you know, it'll do for the time being. So let me just say a bit more about yesterday, about Sunday at the UFO Truth magazine conference. Well, first of all, good news. The chap I was telling you about, the guy who had a go at me on Friday night, he came out and apologised, and that was very gracious of him. And of course, I'm not the type to bear a grudge. I accepted his apology, and we're friends again, and she's nice. So that's the good news. Now, Gabor Tokali, to Charlie, don't I pronounce that? He's like a ufologist from Hungary, and I'm very interested to hear what he had to say, because if you listen to her Panmo Radio, you'll know I've reviewed the books by Piotr Szalabiasz and Dr. Dan Farkash. Piotr Szalabiasz is a Polish ufologist. Dan Farkash is a Romanian ufologist. And so I was very interested, because these were books written by Philip Mantle, which he asked me to do write-ups for, or interview the authors, which I did do, if all the sort of alien autopsy and other things got in the way. But basically, what was Hungary like? So Eastern Europe was is an interesting place for UFOs, because it was behind the Iron Curtain until the late 1980s to early 90s. So there's not a lot of it was sort of like trapped there and didn't really go anywhere. And it was very often, with the exception of Romania, it was not really officially recognised. I think it was regarded as kind of fascist insurgency, very much as it's regarded in Germany today, as this guy I knew from Bufora said. But Gabor has been he's been a ufologist since 1990. He's been interested in it since 1990. He's not a professional. There are no professional people like Haktan Akdogan in Hungary, but there is an interest in the subject, especially since the fall of the Iron Curtain. For example, some information came out after the collapse of the Soviet Union and its sphere of influence involving sightings in space. This is very interesting, because you may have heard of Gennady Strakhalov, the Russian astronaut or cosmonaut. I don't know why they have different names. I suppose it's just politics and things like that. It's like U-boat and submarine in World War II. There's no difference between an astronaut and a cosmonaut apart from nationality. I couldn't get my head around that when I was a kid. The astronaut, I'll say that, Gennady Strakhalov, talked about his sightings of UFOs during the Soviet space program. Indeed, we see the same thing now. It's still continuing with the space shuttle, the US space shuttle, and the International Space Station. It's an ongoing thing. You know, Samantha Cristoforetti and what she saw and things like that. So UFOs being seen in space is an ongoing thing, and NASA even have a code word for them. They call them fast walkers. But there's an astronaut, a Hungarian astronaut. Now, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name and insult all my Hungarian viewers. But in 1980, he was invited as a guest aboard. He was not Russian, but he was invited as a guest aboard a Soviet mission. And in 1980, he went up in a Soyuz rocket to, I think, one of the space stations, Salyut or something, and he did have an encounter with something alien. He saw things up there, rather like, you know, the things that other astronauts like Samantha Cristoforetti and Story Musgrove and these other people who've spoken out. There's a good actually a Russian guy who talks about his experience in space, because he worked, he never went into space, but he was like working for the Soviet and then Russian space program. His name's Valery Uvarov, very interesting guy. Now, and there's a lot of interesting places. In fact, Gennady talks about one of the same cases that Dr. Dan Farkas does, because it is in Romania, but it's in an area of Romania that is essentially an ethnic Hungarian enclave, because it used to be part of Hungary until the First World War. People there are Hungarian, they live the Hungarian lifestyle, they speak the language and things like that in the middle of Romania. And there was an incident in a church where an alien appears in a church. Now, Dan Farkas, because he's Romanian, talks about the same thing, because it is in Romania, not Hungary. And that's very interesting. That's many witnesses to that. There's also an interesting UFO photo from Hungary. Now, this is really incredible because it was never published before. Indeed, you know, if you follow Dan Farkas's work, there's this famous photograph of a church with a flying saucer beside it, literally a classic flying saucer. And this photograph was taken around 1920. It's an incredibly old photo, and it has the classic saucer there. It's amazing, right next to this church. And there's another one from Hungary, and these are like, this is what I say. There's some UFO photos didn't begin with like Kenneth Arnold. They go back much further. They go back throughout the history of photography. There's a photograph from 1870 of a cigar-shaped object in the sky somewhere. It's quite good quality, actually, considering it's so old. These are in the days when photographs were like big cameras were great big boxes you had to put on tripods. Really amazing. There's other things such as a woman with marks on her body, like you get Derrel Sims talks about that in a minute. But the most interesting thing, I think, that Gabor Tsakali talked about was an artifact. It's a rod. Now this rod, it's actually magnesium. It is it's like just a long magnesium rod, 36 centimeters long. Now for some reason someone's cut it into 3 pieces. I don't know why that is. And apparently, Derrel Sims told me this, the owner won't let anyone examine it now. Maybe someone's told him not to, I don't know. But it has numerous, what looks like lights on it, which is very strange. It's sort of silver in colour magnesium, and it has lights on it, although there's no sign of any electronic device within it. And these lights are different colours, and they come on and off. And also, there's like a pyramid-shaped structure on one end of it. It's really weird. It's a shame someone cut it. It's 36 centimetres long, 18 millimetres across. I'm sorry, I'm not going to convert I don't have time to convert these things to non-European British measurements, which I normally do, as you know. But why cut it in 3 pieces? That's silly. That's damaging it. Maybe they want to keep the different pieces in different places, because it could be they're concerned about it being stolen. This could be why the owner doesn't want anyone to look at it. But it needs to be examined. I mean, Derrel Sims is the guy to do it because it's his speciality. Come on to him in a minute. There's another famous Hungarian ufologist who's kind of Gabor's mentor. And again, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but he was involved in the Gary Initiative. Now, if you watch my History of Exopolitics video, you'll know that the Gary Initiative was an attempt at disclosure back in the 1970s, which was initiated by the first Prime Minister of Grenada, Sir Eric Gary. It was scuppered in 1978 when Gary was deposed in a coup by Maurice Bishop. A far-left organisation took over the country, and it was eventually the Americans invaded. But it's interesting, that, wasn't it? That happened. And this guy apparently was quite dedicated. He travelled the world. He went to UFO congresses with Sir Eric Gary. Sir Eric Gary, interestingly, addressed the 1977 UFO Congress. It's not quite the same as the Congress that's currently going today. It was a previous Congress that ran for a few years, a long time ago in the 70s. but that's the only time a serving head of state in office has actually addressed a UFO conference. I mean, there's been other people such as ex-government ministers like the Canadian chap whose name escapes me. The guy who says UFOs are as common as the planes above your head. The Defence Minister of Canada, Sir, what's his name? I don't know. Right Honourable Paul Hellyer. But Gary was serving. So a really interesting talk by Gabor Takali. It's no doubt that UFOs are a worldwide phenomenon. It's every country you go to, you find it. It appears it's more prominent worldwide when it comes to cases from some countries, but this has got a lot to do with the culture and politics of various countries. This is why, if you go to those countries and you look at their internal media, for example, you'll find UFOs everywhere. You'll find you in every single location. Alan Godfrey came back to do an armchair discussion with Gary Heseltine. Now, this is going to be his last public appearance, as I said, and it's a one for the history books. And indeed, Dion actually filmed it, so it might be on DVD at some point, which is good. So I'll show you my souvenirs in a minute, and I did pick up some things like that. But Alan Godfrey, he's an old guy. Like, he's not in the best of health. He makes merry of his condition, you know, like I say, joking about his hand shaking and things like that. He's not in the best of health. I think he wants to retire and spend the rest of his life with his family, which is fair enough. He's got a wife, you know, he's married again, which is nice. But he talked about, again, he didn't talk about his experience, which I think disappointed me a bit, and maybe some people it did, but he didn't have time to go into everything. And he did want to get out the kind of harassment he experienced in his profession, because he was a police officer of West Yorkshire Police. And he had his experience when he was out on his own in his patrol car, which was basically a full contact abduction experience. While he was on duty, he was returned to his car, missing time, had hypnosis, the usual story, to recover his memories. He had the post-abduction syndromes, you know, the classic post-abduction syndrome, marks on the body, etc., dogs growling at you, the usual thing. And he had an amazing experience, which resembles that of Travis Walton. Very interesting indeed. But he decided to speak to the media. He spoke to a reporter from the Daily Mirror, and before you know it, he's a national, international celebrity. Just for a short time, but he was. So he was all on the TV all the time. And funny enough, this is interesting. He was on BBC Breakfast Time when, in the good old days, when Frank Boff and Selina Scott used to present it. I mean, I was just a little kid. I remember it, believe it or not. I was a little kid. It shows how old I am. But he did an interview with them, and one of the people presenting that programme was a young sports journalist called David Icke. He was in the studio at the time. It's on YouTube. That's the first thing I'm going to bloody watch when I get home and I can get back online. I'm going to watch this damn interview with Alan Godfrey. Amazing. It's like I really do wonder. I asked Alan, has he spoken to David Icke since then? And he said, no, he's not. He's not spoken to David Icke since that interview, but he remembers David in the studio. I do wonder if David Icke would have anything to say about it. And it'd be wonderful. Wouldn't it be amazing to think that those two guys could meet each other again? Wouldn't it? That'd be quite something. He got all kinds of people from all over the world were writing to Alan, including a professor from Moscow University wanting to know about his experience. You know, a lot of interesting stuff for something that doesn't exist. As I said, it gets an awful lot of attention. They say, the government say, we're going to spend millions of pounds investigating this. Academics from all over the world want to know about it. But it doesn't exist. It's not real. It's fantasy. But he got into terrible trouble. It's obvious there was an attempt to destroy him. And which is reminiscent slightly of what happened to me, although it's far more serious. I mean, I was never, no attempt was made to frame me for criminal investigations, but there was certainly, as with Alan, there was an attempt to steamroller him out of his job. For example, he he was banned from the Todmorden police station, where he used to be. He was moved to Halifax, and he was in Halifax. But he when he went back to Todmorden police station, he was banned from the location because apparently some of his fellow officers have accused him of thieving things from people's lockers. And when he went to his own locker, he got into trouble because he found some packets of white powder in his locker, and he says I've never been in the drug squad, but it looked like heroin or cocaine or something. He flushed it down the toilet, but it was really, they tried to frame it. It's in his book actually. His book sold out. It was every copy he sold. Now it seems that the authorities, everywhere he went, the authorities were saying to him, you can talk about your experience, but don't talk about the Adamski death, which is interesting. They seem to be more concerned about the Adamski death than his experience. Now, what I mean by the Adamski death is something that happened to Alan, interestingly, there may be a connection, a few months before his experience, before his abduction experience. He was ordered to... what happened was he was ordered to go to a coal yard in Todmorden, which is by the railway station. It's gone now, but it's where the modern railway station is in Todmorden. And because a man had gone missing a week earlier, his family had reported him missing. This was a chap from Tingley, which is another area, it's a nearby town. It's not, and the man's name was Zygmunt Adamski, and that's very, very strange because this guy hails from Poland, as you can tell by his name, but he was a coal miner in Tingley, West Yorkshire, and so he disappeared. He went out one day just for the shops or something, and he vanished. His family wondered where he was. He never came home. No one saw him again. And then Alan and his colleague was a guy called Spot the Dog. His nickname was Spot the Dog. This is like because he was, when he was a probationer, apparently he used to check dog collars and people's dog licenses and things, and checking that the dog collars were on properly and things like that. So he was known as Spot the Dog. Anyway, Alan and Spot the Dog go to this coal yard in Todmorden, and lying on the top of a pile of coal is a dead body. Alan climbs up the coal, gets very covered in coal dust at the time. Interestingly, there are no footprints or anything around the area, and it was it was raining hard during the night, so anyone who went in there would have been covered with coal residue. It'd be really dirty, and Alan got his uniform dirty and everything. Gets to the top of the pile and comes face to face with the dead body of Zygmunt Adamski lying on top of the coal. It's really weird. It looks like he's got his clothes on, but it looks like someone's put his clothes on in a hurry. They haven't done up his shirt, they haven't tied his shoelaces or anything like that. His clothes are clean, which is odd if he climbed to the top of that. For instance, if he climbed to the top of that coal heap and committed suicide by poisoning himself or something, he'd have coal dust all over his clothes. He didn't. Very weird things like that. You see the same thing with the mysterious man in Adelaide from 1949, the body they found there, which I've talked about before, I believe. But there was some strange things, like he had burn marks on his head. He had a burn mark on his neck, which had been treated with some sort of ointment. So what the first thing he did was, of course, he got on his radio and he said, you need the scenes of crime officers here. You need the forensic team here to deal with this, because this is attempted murder. How he got there, who knows? As I said, to have actually put him there, to have carried him in, if you'd killed him, well, firstly, if you killed someone, if you murdered them, or responsible in some way for their death, why go and put them on top of a coal heap in the middle of a town where they're going to be found? Why not just take them into the middle of the woods and bury them under a pile of leaves or something? So obviously the people disposing of the body didn't care that they might possibly be detected when the body was found. So they were quite happy to allow the police to find the body by leaving it in a public place. Obviously it was put on top of the coal dust with no sign that anyone had done it. But of course, you know, the coal heap, the dust gets onto your clothing. So someone would be walking down the street covered in black stains. That'd be a bit of a giveaway, wouldn't it? Someone goes into the laundrette with his coal-covered clothes and says, "Can I wash these, please?" Again, you're giving away a clue. Footprints, you leave footprints everywhere. Black, dusted, coal dust footprints and things like that. So this guy was just dropped. It's like he'd just been dropped out of the sky. Now, was he? How would you drop him out of the sky? Well, the only aircraft, supposing he wanted to be taken and put there from an aircraft, there's only one aircraft that could actually do that. And that's a helicopter. Thing is, helicopters are very noisy. If one was hovering over Todmorden and they were like dropping a body out, there'd be a lot of local witnesses. No one saw or heard a thing. So that's that was the Adamski case. Now the thing is, like Alan knew this because he had to, for the coroner's inquest, he wanted to look at the medical records. Indeed, many journalists since then have tried to do this. The medical records are classified. Now, all medical records are classified to a certain extent. I used to handle them at the hospital. They're classified confidential, not secret or top secret. But they're kept in a vault, and when I was a porter, I had to sign for them. They were given to me in a sealed bag, and I had to carry them to wherever they needed to be carried and deliver them to wherever they needed to be delivered. And there was a seal, so the doctor or nurse you handed them over to could break the seal and know that they hadn't been looked at. However, especially in an old death after the coroner's inquest, which was an open verdict, you should be able to access those medical records. A journalist or someone, there's no reason why they should remain classified after the man's dead and after the coroner's inquest is complete, unless someone doesn't want us to know something about Zygmunt Adamski's death. I mean, no one knows why they took poor Zygmunt Adamski. I mean, his name, of course, his surname is Adamski, is the same as that of George Adamski, who several decades earlier was a big-time contactee celebrity in the United States. But George and Zygmunt, different. Do the aliens, when the aliens are abducting people, surely they don't use the electoral register, do they? You can imagine a scene on the Flying Saucer, can't you? Captain Zartog was saying, "So you got your guy. I told you to get George Adamski. We've got him, sir. We've got him. Look at the first name, Zygmunt Adamski. You've got the wrong man. Zygmunt, George, slightly different names, aren't they? Why didn't you check the first name before you picked him up? Go on, get rid of him." So it's unlikely, isn't it? No, it's not. I'm sure I'm just joking. It's not that. It's a mystery that remains to this day. No one knows exactly what happened to him, but obviously what happened to him, his kidnapping and his disappearance and subsequent death, and what happened to him in between, like having his wounds treated, one of his wounds treated, and the fact he was redressed in a hurry. It happened at a time when there was other UFO activity in the area, including what happened to Alan Godfrey, and well, maybe there's a connection. In fact, there's an ongoing low-level flap in that area. That's why it's known as UFO Alley. You can actually see it from the other side of this building. You can't actually see the town of Todmorden, but you can see the area where that's in, the hills and things like that. So it was great to meet Alan again. I mean, I knew he remembered me from Probe, and it was good to meet him again. Lovely chap. He told all kind of anecdotes as well, because he finished a bit earlier, and on his last speech he talked about funny anecdotes from his days in the police, when he had to because very often he seems to have been his job to pick up dead bodies or to take care of dead bodies, and one of them came back to life after the doctor had pronounced him dead. So Gary Hazeltine spoke next. Now he spoke a lot about Capel Green. Now the Capel Green movie, you'll see the t-shirt in a minute when I do my souvenirs. The Capel Green movie was originally going to be released early last year, and of course it's now almost 2 years late. But that's made a lot of people are impatient for it. But let's face it, this does happen in the movie industry. Films are not always delivered on time. It's quite regularly that they're delivered. They're delivered late. We're still waiting for the Avatar sequels, aren't we? So it's not uncommon. So you just got to be patient, unfortunately. And Gary was saying that when they set the original release date and they started the project, the verdict was, this is just going to be it's going to be a simple thing. Larry Warren is going to be the only main character in it. It's going to be like the polygraph test, a few interviews. That'll basically be it. It's tell the basic story of Larry Warren. Since then, because I think it's the actual production of this particular incident has resulted in it's been a bit of a catalyst, actually. This is why I think Cable Green is going to be a massive game changer in the Rendlesham Forest incident and ufology in general. And this is why there's such a backlash against it, and I'll say more about that later. But we have since then numerous other witnesses have come forward, including Steve Longero. I'll put a link in the description box to my video, UFO Disclosure 2018 History Has Been Made, because that's where I talk about that. Lots of other people, Laurie Riefeld is another one, there's a couple of other guys, the guy with the heavy machine gun and things like that. They've all spoken out and they've been interviewed. So the project is expanding. It's going to be a much longer film. It's going to be over 2 hours, and they've recorded 60 hours of footage apparently. Now there's certainly a scope for a sequel. Definitely is a scope for a sequel. At some point they have to draw a line under it and declare it a wrap at some point. And I think Gary knows this. I mean, and Dion and Tino are working on that. They're in post-production now. They're editing. So I mean, if someone else wants to come forward, Gary said, look, if someone else wants to come forward, but you better be good if you're going to get into the movie now, because this door is shutting now. So your stuff had better be good if we're going to film you and insert it now. So that's quite something. Now, it's interesting that Gary talks about this, because of course we just have this ridiculous farce in Woodbridge organised by David Young. I've already actually heard a bootleg copy of one of the interviews. It was with Colonel Charles Holt, and he didn't say anything he hasn't said before. Most of the recording was simply his bloody life story, which is about as interesting as watching paint dry. And he just goes on about himself all the time, and then he starts slagging Larry off. So I didn't really pay much attention to that. There's going to be other speakers that are going to I expect they've been recorded as well. But really, generally, from what I've heard of reports, from reviews, I spoke to a guy at this conference who's been there. He said it was bloody awful. But Colonel Holt, of course, was the star of the show. They brought him over. Holt in Woodbridge, that name was used again. As you remember, the one from 2015. And Gary knew Holt at the beginning, had a meeting with Holt, and he showed us a page from his notebook, which has never been published, of his meeting with Holt. I mean, of course, Gary was a serving police officer at the time. He's now ex-police officer. But of course, if you're a policeman, you have these habits. They have these notebook. This happened to me when I was arrested last week. They have a notebook. They keep writing in it all the time. Everything that happens, they write down in the notebook. It's all very low tech. It's all very low tech. Just paper, pen. But policemen do that sort of thing. And so Gary noted things that Colonel Holt was saying during this meeting that he had in the 1990s. Now, Holt says, Larry Warren, he's a fraud, and I can prove it. I've got the proof. He told Gary he had proof, he had evidence. Gary wrote it in his notebook, evidence of Larry Warren being a fraud. And so Gary said, well, I'll go where the evidence goes. I'm a policeman, I'm a detective. I'll go where the evidence goes. Wherever it drops, I will go. I'm not scared to go there. So please explain this evidence to me. And he says, I'm going to publish it soon. So Holt then he goes home, and the meeting ends, and Gary sort of like sits by the phone waiting for Holt to get in touch, because Holt did say that he was going to produce this evidence that Larry Warren was lying. Not a pig, not a dicky bird. And we haven't had a dicky bird to this day. If Larry's lying and Colonel Holt has the proof, why hasn't he presented it? And so for this reason, Gary basically said that he had to declare that Colonel Holt was lying. And that he had to, you know, if someone does that, Gary severs his professional relationship, and he did. So we're still waiting actually for that. And indeed, Colonel Holt. I mean, I listened to his rambling because I wanted to hear this supposed evidence. Because if the evidence was there again, I will go where the evidence goes. But Holt never produced it. Holt, as I said, is the talk based on this bootleg recording was really boring. It was his life story followed by stuff he said before. So that's not what I want. That's not what I wanted to hear. So that's it. That's so when people say, "Oh, they accuse Gary and me and Tino of desperately hanging on to a proven fraud to save face," well, in what face are we saving? Why would Gary risk his professional reputation? Indeed, me and Tino and everyone else. Why would we risk our professional reputation supporting a man who's been proven to be a fraud? The reason is because he's not been proven to be a fraud. We're waiting to hear that he's been proven to be a fraud, and that proof has never come. It's not come from Colonel Holt, it's not come from Sash Christie, it's not come from anyone else. So that was very interesting, listening to Gary. He talked about his own personal experience also of going through a similar experience to Alan, but indeed myself, and Kevin Annett and several other people. But it was much more low level. I mean, no one tried to plant drugs on him. But he was basically got into trouble for bringing his force into disrepute. It's eerily similar to what they said about me. One of the things they said about me was I was bringing the hospital and the trust and the Carillion Company into disrepute by my activities in my own time. Not on duty. No one had a problem with me on duty. It's interesting that word disrepute. Disrepute. It's a word that it's a sort of management buzzword, which means you're doing something which is essentially you're doing something in a position where people know you're what you are. In my case, a hospital porter at the John Radcliffe Hospital. In Gary's case, he was a policeman in the British Transport Police. And what you're doing reflects badly on your employer. And that, of course, is in the NHS. Certainly, that's the worst thing imaginable. In the NHS, they don't, as I said in my review of the Porters TV series, they don't give a damn about the quality of service. Not one little damn. As long as it looks good. So if you make them look bad, that's worse. That's far worse than doing a crappy job. Anyway, Gary Bock's clever. He managed to negotiate early retirement. He said he was thinking of doing that anyway, and he got out with his pension and things intact, which is good. It was different with me, as you know. But it makes you think, why? Why is talking about flying saucers in the sky, little green men, bringing your employer into disrepute, saying, I'm a British Transport policeman, and I think there are flying saucers and little green men. That's bringing your employer into disrepute. Why? It's bizarre, utterly bizarre. And again, you've got to ask yourself, if this is just a fantasy, if something that doesn't exist, why do we get this? Why do we get it? We can't have people talking about flying saucers and little green men. They don't exist, they're fantasy, they're nothing, they're completely irrelevant, they're just things that people make up. But we're taking them very seriously here, you understand? We have to take these things seriously. It's this subtext, this contradiction between open statements and subtext, which is convincing. It should convince you that the UFO subject is a serious matter. And you know what? This is how secrets are kept. This is how they're kept by things like this. Because for every person who does speak out, who's willing to speak out, they have the courage, they have the ability, they're in a position where they can. There are probably a dozen who don't. And I know this, actually, because people have approached me privately and said, Ben, I'm talking to you one-to-one, don't repeat this conversation. I'm telling you this because I know you won't laugh at me, but this is what happened to me. It's happened in my hospital. That's how secrets are kept. You know, the skeptics say, if UFOs were real, they'd never be able to keep the secret. Too many people know about it. It's not a question of people knowing about it. It's people first have to know about it, then they have to live in a climate a social climate in which they can actually speak out. And the social climate is not that. And the social climate has been engineered. Social climates can be engineered so easily. And goodness knows I talk about that all the time, don't I? My last video about graffiti. It's the world's top psychologists are employed by the state for purposes such as this. And in the case of UFOs, we have, well, a very interesting set of documents dating back to the late 1940s and early 50s, which culminated in the Robertson panel, which basically said, we're going to keep this secret. We know we can't suppress the evidence of its existence because these things appear over people's houses. They fly over, as the Right Honourable Paul Hellyer said, former Defence Minister of Canada. They're as real as the aircraft that fly over our heads. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a social climate in which it's considered just loopy and crazy and nutty to talk about it. So people then will just simply, the secret will keep itself. People will just simply keep their mouth shut because they don't want all that aggro. They don't want to go against the tide. It's the herding instinct. They manipulate the herding instinct in humans. These people have got, as I said, they're top psychologists, people from the Tavistock Institute, Common Purpose, the Fabian Society, the Stanford Research Institute. They're all in on it. They all deal with it. And for that reason, this is why, all these years later, when it's very obvious this is a real thing, until 2017 at least, a news story about UFOs will be a novelty piece at the end of the main stories. And in other news today, a UFO story, UFO story, UFO story, and suddenly you know exactly what's going to happen, don't you? Some idiot above the camera, above the frame of the camera, is going to dangle a toy flying saucer on a piece of string around the news reporter's head, and the X-Files music is going to play in the background. And everyone in the studio is going to have a good laugh. And that's all for this evening's gentlemen. That's all for this evening's show, gentlemen. Here's Jenny with the weather. Cut. See, that's what we're talking about here. Official ridicule and denial, to quote the Admiral Hillencutter, who was the first head of the CIA. Oh, very interesting indeed that was. Right, Derrel Sims was the last speaker. Now he's an amazing chap. He's a real character. You know him as soon as he walks in the room because he comes from Texas and he's got this loud voice, talks like this, and he's got this really loud voice, and he looks like a cowboy. He dresses like he's got a leather wind cheater and like a tie buckle and a big Stetson hat. I showed you his card earlier because he's a private investigator, so you think he should have a trilby and a raincoat, you know, a Chandler. He's not a Chandler-esque type private investigator. No, he's his own guy. He's a real sight and a real sound. You can tell him, and he's very likable. He's outgoing. I had a good talk with him. I talked to him about I talked to him about the rod in Hungary, and he said, "Oh, the owner won't let anyone see it." In fact, I don't know if that's the case, but if it is, then I hope, like I said, I hope that the owner does let people look at it. Maybe, I don't know if Derrel's mistaken there, I don't know. He talks about implants, which of course is very interesting. He says, "I want you to take your UFO hats off and put your cop hat on." So, basically saying we had to ease. I think what he means is he's got quite a low opinion of the UFO fraternity, and he thinks that we should, we really ought to be behaving slightly differently, like in a more sensible way. I think that's unfair, actually, but in some cases he's right. And then he talks a lot about implants. Now he doesn't say, and I mean indeed the crafty nihilists were both talking about this. He doesn't really say where the aliens come from because he claims that they're cloned, they're genetically engineered. He doesn't say who clones them or genetically engineers them. He speaks in quite a cryptic manner actually, because he says what aliens we see. He shows pictures of the stars and planets. He says, you think they come from here? They don't come from here. They come from here, there, everywhere. And I didn't quite grasp what he was saying. I think it was a bit of a Socratic dialogue. I think his intention was probably just to get us to think. He wasn't trying to mislead us. He was trying to get us to think for ourselves, which is why so many of his pronouncements were very open-ended. But he talks about the implants. There's a film of some surgery where people have had implants removed. He says a couple of things, such as he talks about the times when people have been attacked by aliens. Indeed, they are. I mean, he doesn't regard aliens as all bad, but he says that there are some that intend us harm, and I agree with that. Seem to be a minority, luckily, but they are there. He talks about the implants being put in people. Of course, this is, as I said, I've got my mark on there still, and what's in there, as far as I know, is still there. I've talked about this on previous videos. I didn't get the chance to talk to Derrel about it, and because there's no way I can really prove it's there. He claims that it's very rare. Implants are very rare. Less than 1 in 100 people have them. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's talking about the general population or people who think they have them. He says, if you think you have an implant, you don't. Or so, he said something like that. But you can have them removed. But of course, a friend of mine had one removed from her nose. She told me she had an implant in her nose. She went to Greece, spent £2,000 on an operation in Greece because she couldn't get it done over here because all the doctors just wanted to refer to the psychiatric clinic. She went to Greece, she had a private operation, had the thing taken out, x-rayed, it was all gone. She had it in a little bottle, and she sent it off to some scientists for examination, and it turns out it was something very odd, something very weird. She then went home, and a week later she was abducted, had missing time. She went in for another x-ray. The implant had been replaced. Whoever or whatever had put it in there had decided they didn't want it taken out, so they put another one in there. So the people, obviously the people or things that put the original one in there, decided to put a new one in. So that's £2,000 down the drain. This is why I'm not going to take any action over the thing in my arm. I'm going to leave it there. I mean, I have no memory of any experience that would lead me to believe this has been done to me, as I've explained in previous videos. And quite frankly, I don't want to have hypnotic regression and things like that because, quite frankly, it scares me. I mean, I've got to admit that it was worrying, and so it's something I'm going to put on the back burner for now. But he talks about several things. He says, well, some things he says I don't agree with. He says, well, firstly, he says aliens have only been around for 150 years, but then he appears to contradict himself by saying, you know those fairies in Ireland and the jinn in the Middle East? It's the same thing. They kidnap you, they take you, are they going to bring us back? Things like that. Now, if I misunderstood Derrel, then I apologise, but I don't exactly quite get where he's coming from then. How they can only have been around for 150 years, yet they've been around a long time before. I don't get that. Or maybe they're just like the latest version of this mythology, this ancient mythological beeb. He says, some of you UFO people, you take your UFO hats off because you don't want to talk about Colaris. And, well, that's untrue. A lot of ufologists just talk about the Colaris incident. The Colaris incident, also known as Operation Saucer, the very original name, was an investigation, I believe, in about 1975 into an incident in Brazil on the island of Colaris. It's a big island in the Amazon River, the River Amazon. It's the biggest freshwater island in the world, actually. And on this island, there was an incident where UFOs were appearing in the sky, shooting beams of light down at people. And the beams of light hit people, and they got like strange marks. It wasn't like burns; it was something else, like little spots of blood on their skin. Apparently, it took blood out of them, and aliens were appearing. Several people died. It was very alarming indeed. And lots of ufologists are interested in that. I mean, there's a guy called Hollander, Captain Hollander. He led Operation Saucer for the state. The government actually did an investigation into it. There was a doctor as well, whose name I can't remember. She's been interviewed about it. But the Captain Hollander ended up with an implant in his arm as a result of this, so he was obviously taken as well. But this, I think I was familiar with this. I got my UFO hat on. I was familiar with Colaris. So I don't know what Derrel means by that. And we don't want to look at it. And he said that there's several different ways you can test yourself for implants. Of course, I had an electronic scan, as you know, but he said they leave marks on the body which appear in ultraviolet light, and he had like a UV pen, and he demonstrated this. Although he got Annalisa, Annalisa, who was our friend, I think you know about her. He actually put marks on her just to demonstrate what they look like. I'm not saying Annalisa was abducted, but he just wanted to demonstrate what they look like, so he put marks on her to show. And apparently these things show up in ultraviolet light, so that's interesting. Here, as you saw earlier, Derrel brought some of his implants with him to the collection that he's gathered, and it's fascinating stuff. And of course this is hard physical evidence, as he himself said. This is where he focuses, hard physical evidence. This is why I talked to him about this thing in Hungary, this 36-centimetre rod in Hungary. It's the evidence that counts, and physical evidence is very important. And so apparently Derrel was the guy who started it off. It wasn't Dr. Roger Lear. Lear gets a lot of the limelight, and he did a good job, and it's sad he's passed away, but apparently it was Derrel that started the whole thing off, and Lear kind of followed in his footsteps. Lear was kind of like his protege, and Derrel really probably hasn't had the accolade that he deserves as a result of that. And I hope this actually changes now, because he's done it. It was an interesting talk. It was a really interesting talk. So well done, Derrel. It was nice to meet him. As I said, he's a very outgoing, friendly guy. And a big loud voice. But you can see him a mile off because he wears that big cowboy hat wherever he goes. Yeah. Oh, and you saw his card earlier with him wrestling with a tiger. Apparently, he wasn't wrestling with a tiger. He was just messing around with it because he runs a tiger sanctuary on top of everything else. Him and his wife look after various tigers and other big cats. And so, man of many talents is old Derrel. Very interesting indeed. During the Q&A, Colin Wolford put his hand up. He asked about the alien autopsy, of course, and well, Colin is still this dogged voice crying in the wilderness, and as I've said, because I interviewed him earlier, is he about to be vindicated? I mean, I personally, I'm not. What has come lately through Kit Green has not convinced me that the actual Santilli film itself is real, as Colin believes it is, but it's not convinced me that is real. However, it does make me wonder why people are talking about very similar films that are real. And it's possible there is an alien autopsy film out there somewhere, which people have seen, which Kit Green saw, and I think this is kind of like a reopening of the whole investigation in that respect. So, in a way, Colin has provided a service in that sense. He has, very much so. Oh, and that was the end of it. Yeah. There was a question about the Mandela effect, which people on the stage didn't really want to answer. They just passed the microphone along to each other because that's not a ufological issue. I mean, the Mandela effect is very interesting. I've talked about it myself. I'm a Looney Tunes guy, but it's not really kind of something for a specialist UFO conference. It's something probably we should talk about more maybe in a probe. In fact, I might include it in my own address, because I think the Mandela effect is extremely important. It may signify some certain changes in the universe, which well, I won't say any more. You watch the video, because I will record my talk. Okay. So that's it. That's the end of the UFO Truth Magazine Conference 2019, and it seems like the moment it starts is over. And of course, it's always a strange feeling when you get to. It's not a pleasant feeling. It's a strange feeling when you get to the end of a good conference. But not to worry. Just 2 weeks till probe. That's something. Let's have a look at my souvenirs anyway. It's time for souvenirs, and so we begin with this. The Tolkien Trail, poetry, music, and it's Sunday the 22nd of September. Meet at the Library Pub Woodhouse. This is in Leeds. And of course the person doing this Tolkien Trail, because this is Headingley, Leeds, and you see people there, and is Claire Ray Randall, and you may not recognise that name, but you, and there's Leeds, there's the website, you can find out more. But that name actually is the real name of Cosmic Claire, that you saw earlier. And so here's the details here. Tolkien Trail with poetry and music in celebration of the time Professor J.R. Tolkien spent in Headingley. Yes, around the period of the Great War. Yep, this is, he did live in Leeds. And of course, local musician Shadowfax. There's a band named after, it's the horse, it's Gandalf's horse in Lord of the Rings. So that's really interesting. So if you get along to that, Meet Cosmic Claire. She'll be leading the trail. I'd love her to come to Oxford actually, and do the talk there, because of course Oxford is Tolkien Central, isn't it? It's where he spent most of his life. The problem is Claire's so controversial, she'd probably be banned. In fact, I was thinking of getting her in to speak at Dreaming Saucers next year, but I'd have to put her in as a mystery guest. If I tell people who she is, she'll be banned. And the reason is, well, it's going to be in her next book, but she's already caused a bit of a stir in her own town, so I won't be able to advertise her. That's the problem. Okay, so there's a few more things here. I've got this Egyptians' Origins. This is a conference. Oh, this is good. Pyramids, Gods and Giants tour. Oh, it's a tour. Yeah, I think this may be the one that Gary's going on. Ancient Petra and Jordan. And we have here Hugh Newman, who you met today, you met this weekend. Yusuf Alwan and Tim Vera. I've heard of Tim Vera, not heard of Yusuf Alwan. But here you see, you join these people. I won't read all this. You can always pause and read in the best traditions of Padmo TV. But it's based on megalithomania that Hugh helps organise, which I've been to. If you remember my video about that, Big Stones. And here's there's more than one tour. Ancient Orkney, hosted by Nicholas Cope. I wonder if he's any relation to Julian Cope, because Julian Cope, of the singer, of Teardrop Explodes. Julian Cope is very into ancient mysteries and stuff like that. Hugh Newman again. Ancient Malta, that's fascinating. Malta, there's all kinds of Hajarim and Gigantea and things like that. And we have here Mysteries of England, Crop Circle Tour, Megalithic Greece. Yeah, it's great. I don't see Maria Wheatley on there, but she'll probably be there. She does that sort of thing. MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, established 1969, the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. Oh, that sounds fun, doesn't it? So what's in here? Join us at the MUFON 50th Symposium. Oh, July in California, USA. Okay, if I'm going to get to Roswell, I don't think I'm going to Roswell and California in July. I may be able to make it like a tour, but I'll never find the money. Oh, good, 4,000 members, all these things you get from MUFON. There was like MUFON UK as well. There's a MUFON South Africa. The lady Cynthia Hind, who investigated the Ruhr incident, she was with MUFON South Africa. You can become a MUFON investigator. You have to, if you do the course. I know someone who's done the MUFON course. Go investigate UFO sightings. Promote research on UFOs. Educate the public on UFOs and its potential impact on society. Yeah, very important indeed. And of course, Capel Green. You've heard all about it there. The truth denied. The truth behind the Rendlesham Forest incident. Yeah, and there you see that is a still from the amazing CGI we saw, the CGI imagery of the film. As I say, it's just Hollywood level. It's not amateurish, as some people are saying. It's Hollywood level CGI. I actually had a little bit of a preview of this a couple of months ago when I went to Awakenings, because I was with Dion and Tino. But I've got a few of them to take to probe. Now this is, I showed you this earlier, didn't I? This is a conference I'm hopefully speaking at in next year. It's going to be next year, 29th of February to the 1st of March. Brilliant. That sounds great. That's a weekend conference in Hull, searching for things, and there's going to be talk about, here we go, UFO Truth, Outer Limits, BBR, Spectral Investigations and more. Just up my street, isn't it? Andrew Collins is going to be there. Antonio Perez, the British Bigfoot research team, Deborah Hatswell, and you know all about the British Bigfoot thing, don't you? Yeah, I mean, you've seen my video about that. Shut up, Diego Rivera. Chris Branson, Gary Heseltine, of course, you just heard. Chris Evers of Outer Limits magazine. Yeah, he's gonna be there. So I know there's more guests. I think I'm gonna be one of them soon. So that's really, really great. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but there's the website there. So do get to that if you can. I've got this DVD. Now this was originally $9.99. I saw it was reduced to £5, so I couldn't resist. But it is. Gary Heseltine introduced Stanton Friedman and David Icke. An hour and a half. Wow. And so these are unique interviews. Firstly, the late great Stanton Friedman, who is no more. The end of an era, the death of a legend. And very much alive and well, but very controversial. David Icke, yes, I have seen these on. He did show them at the conference, but it's great to have the video again. Yeah, I have here the schedule of UFO Truth magazine. As you can see, I'll keep that as a souvenir. I've got loads of flyers for Truth Seekers Northeast. I'll be putting these inside my books when I sell them. I'll be giving them out at Pro. I've got some Capel Green flyers to give out as well, which is really, really good. And here is the Capel Green T-shirt, which I've got here with the new logo. Wicked. I'll be wearing that with pride. And here's my binoculars. And these binoculars I used for the sky. Well, I bought them for the skywatch, but it wasn't a very long skywatch, but they were useful now. And that's moisturiser. I get dry skin a lot. That's my toothbrush. Oh, here's the pen I thought I'd lost. I found again, which is great. I thought I'd lost that. I was glad because it's my Truth Seekers Northeast pen. It'll probably run out soon, but everyone was using it. Alan and Hugh were using it to sign books because they didn't bring their pen with them. That's my, I think that's my camera charger or phone charger. We have here, that's my hotel key. And now we have here, that's my notebook. This is very interesting. This is called The Individual. You can just make this out by Mark Froud, although it's all jumbled up as you can see. The boy's world does not use words. No written language, no speech. Even to utter sound from the mouth is obscene. One day he uncovers a lump of metal and trace lines you will follow to a different world. In our time, in the centre of a city, a hesitant writer observes witches performing a ceremony. A traumatised woman sees a boy materialise in front of her. She sees her lost son and seizes him in her arms. In this world, a silent boy watches buildings and people take on new shapes. Nothing is what it was before. Nobody is who they were because nothing can be named. Ooh, how about that? That's actually good. I'll tell you who gave me this. The author, Mark Froud, independent writer and scholar. His book of literary cultural criticism, The Lost Child of Literature and Culture, is published through Paragraph. Cover art by Liz Froud. Now, the names Mark Froud and Liz Froud, they may sound familiar to you because they are the crafty nihilists. They are the Gestalt entity known by the singular term, the crafty nihilists. And I've met them for the first time. It was great. They're going to be at Probe as well. That's really good. In this bag I've got Andrew Johnson's books. I'm not going to unwrap them now because I'll unwrap them on the car. You've seen them anyway. Now this is great. Look at this. I tell you what, the crafty nihilists gave me this. They gave me this. It's a bag, and they handed this to me. And it's full of presents. Let's have a look. Look. St. Peter's Plum Porter, sweet porter with many black. Oh wow! Now porter, of course, porter is a dark ale. It was made in London along with stout and porter. Although stout is something we associate more with Ireland these days because of a certain popular dark ale. Wow! Look at this. This looks great. I'll chill that down and have that when I get home. Yeah. What else is in here? Oh, this is in here, this is actually something they're just lending me. It's a DVD from the Glastonbury Symposium, so that'll be great. Oh, Space Raiders! Alien flavour. And more Space Raiders. Beef flavour. 2 packets of Space Raider crisps. And we have here... Dear Ben, found these unexpectedly in a charity shop. Number 20 to 38 of fake news. I need to add to photocopy them from my set. Please turn over. We hope you enjoy them. Lots of love. The Gestalt entity, aka the crafty nihilist, aka Liz and Mark. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's Callanish. And these are like Oh wow, it's like cards of various events. Oh, wicked. Brilliant. Oh man, I'm not going to get them out now because I'll lose them. But it's like cigarette cards of the weird and wonderful things. Oh, that's going to be very entertaining. Thank you very much. And what else do we have here? Oh, this is Derrel Sims' card, which is his business card here. Which I must get myself a business card done. I really must. And here we have. Oh, what? It's an alien patch. Put that on my jacket. And here we have. This is not an iron patch. Please sew on the garment. Oh right. Okay. Oh, wicked. The crafty nihilist. Oh well, brilliant. Oh, fantastic. This is really, really great. I've got like all these things here. Oh man, thecraftynihilist.com. Right. You check them out, by the way. They've got a YouTube channel as well. So I've got this postcard here. I don't know what that is. Let me just see if I don't want to open it, you see, but it looks great. I don't want to open it because I'll open it. That's their logo there, you see, the crafty nihilist. Let's see what what's in here. Oh, it's a picture of some kind of alien or monster or demon. Oh, wicked. Wicked. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff, right. So I have to sew that on. I can't, I'll probably sew it on myself. But I know a lady in a shop, she does like a little shop and she does sewing for us, so she might do it for me. What else is in here? Oh, stickers! Warning, stay away. Alien Zone. Hello. Look what's on the other side of here. Look, Area 51. Alien abduction UFO presence here. Oh, that was from Waking's Manchester. Look, here's the sticker over here. And the crafty nihilist. Oh, this is great. So, thanks very much to Liz and Mark for those lovely presents. Oh, that's really good of you. And I hope you enjoyed my little tour through my collection of souvenirs. I've got obviously plenty to remind myself of this wonderful weekend.
Now, my phone, luckily, is unable to get Facebook. It's not efficient enough, which is actually something of a blessing. It's an enforced absence of the great blue monster which sucks up all your energy and time. Gives me a chance to get away from it. I also have all the unpleasant people I don't like blocked. However, sometimes information seeps through over that event horizon, that expanding bubble of space-time, of which the nasty people who are horrible to me are behind, where I can never see them. But in this case I've had to, because really it's been necessary to address certain points here. Now, this is Nick Pope, the man from the ministry, the real Fox Mulder, whatever you choose to call him. I can think of other names, which I'm not going to say right now. He has posted some material here, which I don't normally address the kind of rubbish he talks, but I'm going to address this, because even by his standards, this is despicable. This is an enormous discredit to him. He should feel deeply ashamed for what he's written here. I won't do the Nick Pope voice, but I'll just quote it here. Possible scam alert for the UFO community. The Larry Warren fraud was definitively exposed 2 years ago when his lies about being a witness to the Rendlesham Forest incident were uncovered. His story, part stolen from other witnesses but largely fabricated, unravelled, and his publisher, Cosimo, withdrew his book from sale. Now, an amateur documentary called Capel Green is being made. While a handful of genuine Rendlesham witnesses and researchers have bit parts, Larry Warren is to be the film's central character, meaning there's a bogus story of lies at the heart of the narrative. It's not clear which of the filmmakers have been duped by virtue of not having done their due diligence, and which are promoting a story they know to be false. Disgraced former transport cop Gary Heseltine is heavily involved. But the UFO community is getting justifiably aggrieved at what looks suspiciously like an attempt to con them a second time with Warren's fraudulent narrative. Oh my goodness me. Well, where do I begin? Firstly, the so-called Larry Warren fraud was not definitively exposed 2 years ago. It was actually debunked comprehensively 2 years ago, as you know if you're a regular viewer. All these allegations, parts stolen from other witnesses, largely fabricated, is untrue. As for Larry's relationship with his publisher, he actually requested that the book be withdrawn, and I'll be saying a little bit more about the publisher and in the future, because there's a lot more to be said which I can't say right now. Now, as for the Capel Green issue, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have a precognitive review of Capel Green. We have a precognitive review of a film that's not even been made yet. This is a unique incident in the history of cinema. I mean, just think about it. Just think about it logically, how that would work as a proper review. It'll probably go something like this.
Good evening and welcome to Film Review with me, Jonathan Wass. And on tonight's programme we got something a little bit different from the usual. We are going to talk about the new upcoming UFO documentary film, Capel Green. And in order to review this film, we brought into the studio with us a critic and ufologist called Ben Emlyn-Jones. Ben Emlyn-Jones, good evening and welcome to the programme. Good evening, Jonathan. It's good to be on the show. Tell me, Ben Emlyn-Jones, how did you feel when you walked into the cinema and first saw the film Capel Green? I'm afraid I haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen it yet? No. Ben, we brought you into the studio tonight to talk about the film Capel Green, and you're telling me you want to review this film with me and you've not seen the film yet, correct? That's correct, I'm sorry. Gallery, cut to credits.
I mean, it really is totally illogical, isn't it? It really is. The film is coming. It's going to come out, and as I explained, sometimes these things don't happen when you want them to, but it is going to happen. Now Dion, the film director, is certainly not an amateur. Neither are any of the other people involved. You've probably seen the trailers, and you can see how sophisticated it is. It's going to be a top A-list movie, a top documentary that's going to change distinctly the whole landscape of the UFO community. There's all kinds of, just look at this rhetoric here. It's all rhetoric of bogus story, duped, false, disgraced, aggrieved. It's all words of rhetoric. These are adjectives. There's no argument here. There's no evidence. There's literally no evidence in this entire thing. It's just really, I mean, you think that if anyone has any doubt of Nick Pope's true role in the UFO community, let that doubt go away now. Just ask yourself why he is stooping to this level. Why is the man from the ministry, whatever you want to call him, the go-to guy, the people the media have on speed dial whenever a news story about UFOs comes up, why is he descending to the level of what is essentially, as I've explained before, nothing more than a personal gripe between Larry Warren and another person? The whole thing is motivated by a personal vendetta triggered by just one single person. And sort of doing due diligence. Again, that's personal criticism. Somebody, a disgraced former transport cop. I mean, if I was Gary Heseltine, I'd be on the phone to my solicitor. Gary actually he actually responds to this. I'll be reading out his response in a minute. But the UFO community is getting justifiably aggrieved. Nick, you don't speak for the UFO community. You speak for your own little community of people in the media and your friends, the trolls. I'm really surprised you're slumming it with these people, It really is odd. I think you're exposing yourself for what your agenda is here. These people are useful idiots, aren't they? They're not part of any agenda. They don't work for MI5. They don't work for any intelligence agency. They're not part of any cover-up. But it just so happens they've accidentally struck the right note, which you want to amplify, because I think you are. You are. I strongly suspect, almost to the point of certainty, that you are involved in some kind of cover-up, aren't you? And as I've explained, if anyone thinks that what Larry says is a fraudulent narrative, well, just look at my material on the subject. Look at what Gary has said. Watch Capel Green when it comes out. Now, you'll be glad to know that Gary has said something about this, and I don't blame him. And he says here, a challenge to Nick Pope by Gary Heseltine. In a recent posting on his webpage, 14th September, Nick Pope accused me of being involved in a scam on the UFO community by being involved with Larry Warren and military witnesses in the making of Capel Green, an independent documentary about the Rendlesham Forest incident. He referred to me as a disgraced cop. When someone illogically asked what made me into a disgraced former transport cop, he replied with the following response. Because when alerted to Warren's threats to violence against women, he's referring to Sasha Christie, who did most to expose his lies, Heseltine chose to bully and harass the victims of 7 instead of intervening to help them. Okay, Nick, I hear you. So here's my response. I challenge you to show me the actual evidence to prove the serious allegations you make against me. Please provide me with that evidence of bullying and harassing of the victims. I eagerly await the production of your evidence, Gary Heseltine. And of course, that production will never come, because this is a dialogue that we've had many, many times in the saga of this unhappy little scandal. And the truth of the matter is, it's not there. There is no evidence. There's no case against any of us people. The people who've said things about me, about Tino, about Larry, about Gary, they're lying, start to finish. That's all it is. And I mean, we don't have to wait for Capel Green to be released to know that, because it's already been established. The fact of the matter is, when Capel Green comes out, more people are going to know, it's going to be easier to understand, and the trolls are going to look like the idiots and the deceivers that they are.
Just left the hotel now, and first thing I see when I step out is more chemtrailing. Really bad chemtrailing this morning. In fact, it's been ongoing for the whole of the weekend, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's got anything to do with weather patterns. I'm not keeping note of these things, but it's worrying when you see things like this. It really does make me wonder what kind of world we're living in. I'm just switching on the camera here to admire that very nice Lamborghini, nice sports car there. And I came across this, I noticed this. What you have here is what's commonly known as a black chemtrail. You can see it there. It's actually not a black chemtrail. Black chemtrails are actually shadows cast by other chemtrails, high altitude chemtrails, on a lower altitude layer of clouds. It just goes to show how they're how consistent, how thick they are in consistency. They're not just water vapor that evaporates. They are thick enough to cast a shadow on a lower level of cloud. So that's, if you see a black chemtrail, that's how you know they are. It shows how heavy the chemtrailing is today. Advertisement over there. Ahmadiyya. The Messiah has come. TrueIslam.co.uk. There he is. There is the Messiah, apparently. It's interesting you get these people who always believe that the rapture is upon us, the end of the world is nigh, the Messiah, etc. I'm actually working on a presentation about this sort of thing. Obviously, this guy thinks that he, or the people who follow him, think that he's like what they call the 12th Imam, which is said to be the last. It's kind of like the Messiah figure in Islam that precedes the coming of Satan and the battle between Satan and Jesus and things like that, which they talk about. It's weird that as you get more and more of this, as if people feel as if history as we know it is coming to an end. It's purposive. It has its political equivalents, such as Marxism and the end of history theory from Francis Fukuyama. I'm doing an entire presentation on this. I'll work on a presentation on this very topic. I might even insert some of it into my probe talk, but it's interesting seeing that poster there of a guy who believes that he is the saviour, and he's not Stephen Greer. I'm on the coach home now. I generally regard this as kind of leisure time. I've got my book here by Andrew Johnson to read, so I'll just take advantage of I'm just sitting here, being able to read, having the time to do it. Nearly at Milton Keynes now, so making good progress. Well, I'm now on the last stage of my journey home. I'm in this really weird place, Milton Keynes, which I've made an entire video about. I don't have time to stop and do another analysis of Illuminati architecture. I'm just going to go and get home. Yes, I should be home probably within 2 hours now. I'll be home. Okay, I'm back in Oxford. This is where they had the Remainer protest a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Oh, so another UFO Truth magazine conference is over, and God knows they're over so soon. It's just they hardly begin when they're ending. It feels like that. It's like when they're actually going on. It's almost like a kind of singularity of time, and that's unfortunate. I've got some happy memories though. I had a great time. It was a great success, and I'm glad I went and wouldn't miss it for the world. So what have I got to do next? Well, I better start preparing for my talk at the Probe conference. I mean, that's the good news. The good news is I finished, this conference is over, but there's another one about to begin, and I'm not just going along, I'm speaking. I'm going to play an active part in this conference, so I better make sure I do a damn good job. Yes, I will be taking my camera with me and I will be recording it. I'll be doing a full reportage, so that's something for you viewers to look forward to. But right now I'm in that sort of like limbo state between getting home and having to return to normality. But best start editing, and hopefully you'll see this video as soon as possible. Thank you for watching Panwo TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.